auspicious Big Ten debuts for Nebraska and Wisconsin in 2015 under new head coaches. Last week, the Badgers at home suffering a 10-6 loss to the Iowa Hawkeyes with a 4-turnover day from a veteran quarterback. Not the way you want to start Paul Chryst' tenure as the head coach. Meanwhile, the Huskers return home for their Big Ten home opener after another very difficult loss. This last one to the hands of the Illinois Fighting Illini a week ago. They come back and they get set for the 344th consecutive sellout at Memorial Stadium as the Badgers and Huskers square off in an early season crucial Big Ten West showdown. And with that, we welcome you to the broadcast booth at Memorial. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan in a moment as well. This is a very crucial game. One loss in the Big Ten West, a suddenly competitive division, does not a season make. But two losses may be a little bit too much to handle with so many good teams all of a sudden playing.
Yeah, and I think that sense of urgency escalates greatly because both of these teams, quite frankly, gave a conference game away last week.
How about Joel Stave, veteran quarterback, 4 turnovers, and Wisconsin only had 6 points last week.
Wisconsin's team their table is set by the defense they play, so Joe Stave has to be able to get something out of the passing game, and this was not it last week. A veteran guy has to make better decisions. The run game isn't really up to snuff right now. Their offensive line is greatly banged up, and so Joe Stave has to play incredibly well here this afternoon.
How about Nebraska? Another heartbreaking loss last week. That's 3 of them this season on the opponent's final offensive possession by a combined 9 points. Started back on opening day. The 29 season opening win streak ends on a BYU Hail Mary. Then the Huskers rally against Miami, force overtime, but a pick from Tommy Armstrong, and eventually Miami wins on a field goal. And the latest blunder, a 3rd and 7, trying to keep the clock moving. Armstrong can't do it. Illinois marches down the field and scores the game-winning touchdown with 10 seconds to go. Kelly, going back to last year, 5 losses, the last 5 for Nebraska by a combined 16 points, and they're 2-3 for the first time since 1959.
Absolutely gut-wrenching, those type of losses. But head coach Mike Riley and his staff have a difficult assignment anyway. And now it's not just that they lost 3 games, Adam. It's the way that they lost those 3 games. And this is what he told us yesterday. And I think this is the heart of the matter. Those players right there need concrete evidence that the things that we're doing will work. That evidence needs to come today against Wisconsin.
They're happy to be back home, an NCAA record 344 consecutive sellouts here at Lincoln Memorial Stadium. The Big Ten home opener for Mike Riley and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. They get set to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Kickoff from Lincoln is next. Wisconsin and Nebraska, they hope that this becomes a cemented rivalry in the Big Ten. They battle for the 2nd time for the Freedom Trophy. We welcome those of you watching on ESPN2 across the country as well. And we welcome the 3rd member of our team, Olivia Harlan, on the field.
Well, Adam, it's that halfway point through the season, and coaches around the country are dealing with more injuries and attrition. Just a laundry list for these 2 teams today. For Wisconsin, most notably, they get their top receiver, Alex Erickson, back. He's missed last week with a concussion. He was cleared Thursday for just 1 practice before the trip. Now across the line of scrimmage to Nebraska's defense, guys, 19 different starters in their 5 games. Wow is right. Silver lining, they get tackle Vince Valentine back today. He missed the last 3 weeks with a high ankle sprain. And Adam, I saw him warming up with a significant tape job on that left ankle. But also big-time playmaker DeMornay Pearsonell, a right foot injury, kept him out until just last week. But now they really increase his role today. Husker fans will remember him best for his 3 punt return touchdowns last year. Today, Adam, look for him using screens and jet sweeps.
Olivia talked about it. Nebraska, especially on the defensive side, has been decimated with injury. You see the games missed by some significant players. Banderas and Rose Ivy, very good linebackers. Sutton is out at tight end, and they're missing both Kevin Williams and Kevin Maurice at defensive tackle. Daniel Davey is out at cornerback. Valentine's hoping to be healthy. Gangwish dealt with an elbow. Pearson-Ell is back. Both teams have dealt with a lot of injury, including Nebraska and Mike Riley's first season after 14 years as the head coach at Oregon State. Bo Pelini started his first 6-game stretch at 3-3 as well. The Husker fans hope that Nebraska will be 3-3 by the end of the day. And the job that he was meant to have, the former Wisconsin quarterback, Paul Chryst, after a couple of stints as an assistant, back at Wisconsin now as the head coach. Riley and Chryst, very good friends. They know each other very, very well. Chryst actually really got Riley's attention as a coach, and Riley pretty much started Paul Chryst's full-time coaching career back in the 90s. There is a heavy gusting breeze today, mostly blowing from our right to our left. That's from south to north, almost 20-mile-an-hour winds. That could play a major factor here in Lincoln today.
And remember, it was just last week in Illinois that this Nebraska offense couldn't get out of their own way, and it was a stiff breeze as well last Saturday.
Wisconsin won the toss and deferred. Andrew Endicott is back after missing a game due to an unspecified injury. He needs the help of the holder to kick this one away. Off we go. From Lincoln, Nebraska. And it is Jordan Stevenson, the former Wisconsin Badger, with his red shirt removed, taking a knee and out to the 25-yard line. Comes Tommy Armstrong and the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Rough game against Illinois, but still the Big Ten passing leader in yards and touchdowns.
Yeah, and what Mike Riley told us about him is he's a great freelancer. He maybe throws the best ball on the move that Riley's ever coached.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is this is an offense about progression, about going through your reads on time and in rhythm, and we'll see if he can do that today.
They'll start with Andy Janovich, junior out of Nebraska, former walk-on in the backfield. And there is DeMornay Pearson-Ell, exactly what Olivia told us about, trying to get him going on jet sweeps. And immediately Vince Beagle, one of the two veteran outside linebackers, is there for a loss of 4.
And Pearson-Ell is that fly sweep guy. He's really the big time playmaker that this offense has lacked, and Riley's offense is all about pre-snap minutia. There's a lot of moving parts, but they run the ball to the perimeter, and Pearson-Ell is at the epicenter of that.
Terrell Newby checks into the backfield for the Huskers. More motion, but it's Armstrong with the lead blocker trying to bust into the open field, and he gets wrapped up by Derek Tyndall and brought down to set up 3rd and 4. Take a look at our impact players when the Huskers are on offense.
Well, we talked about Pearson-Ell, and he's the big play guy that this offense needs. And then it's the two new linebackers inside, Chris Orr and T.J. Edwards. They're a freshman and a redshirt freshman, and it's about IDing the core because there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of window dressing before the ball is snapped.
Trying to take advantage of some young eyes in the middle of that Wisconsin defense on 3rd down and 4 against one of the best defenses in college football the last 3 years. Armstrong rifles one towards the sticks. It's caught short by Stephen Carter, the tight end, and he immediately gets brought down by the outstanding safety Michael Caputo, a yard shy of the line to gain.
Yeah, it's just a little unaware of what you need to move the chains right there, and Carter cut that route off a little bit short. There isn't any run after the catch, and this isn't a decision right here. Riley obviously has to punt this ball off early in this one.
Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week is Sam Foltz, averaged 47 a punt last week, and it will be Sojourn Shelton, who had 3 punt return touchdowns in high school in Florida at Plantation, back to return. And a penalty marker thrown before the snap.
Ball start. Offense number 35. 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
John O'Neill, who officiated the final BCS National Championship game, calls Janovich for the false start. Foltz sprained ankle against BYU, missed a game, but he's been back ever since, the junior out of Nebraska. Good get off time, about a 2.5 seconds. And Shelton waves this one out. It takes a friendly Wisconsin bounce. It's touched by a Cornhusker, and it ends up being down near the 45-yard line. So excellent field position on what ends up being just a 33-yard punt for Foltz. Joel Stave, a very, very active quarterback. First career start came 3 years ago here in Lincoln. Third in school history in passing yards. He's picked up 24 wins. That's fourth among active quarterbacks and 44 touchdown passes, but 4 turnovers last week. 2 in the air, 2 on the ground.
And with the run game suffering a little bit, Stave has to be that expert at that position. No critical mistakes out of him today like we saw last week.
On first down, it's Tyron Deal with a lead block from Derek Watt. And Deal with a good first down run to the 49-yard line, a gain of 5. Chris Webber is there on the stop, one of the important guys on this defense.
And Olivia told us about Erickson coming back, and he's really the most stable guy outside. And then it's a walk-on linebacker in the middle. Chris Webber, he's done a great job. 29 tackles the last 2 weeks. You can't get much better than that. But it's about getting the call, echoing the call, and then setting the front for that guy in the middle.
Josh Banderas, one of several injured Huskers on that Nebraska defense, out for the 4th time in the last 5 games. On second down, it's Deal into a pile of red jerseys, and he will get stopped for no gain on the play. Right in the thick of things is Greg McMullen in that great front for Nebraska, along with Dedrick Young, the freshman outside linebacker.
And what we're going to see out of Wisconsin today is what they call the Wisconsin way, which is a power run, a zone run. They'll stretch it sometimes outside, but it's about relocating 300-pounders to the point of attack like they did on that point.
Just 2 down linemen for Wisconsin, showing pressure. Or for Nebraska, rather. They bring heat. Stave with a protected pocket. Now takes off. And he's got the first down and more, and he slides down in Nebraska territory at the 40-yard line.
A great decision early by Joel Stave. It was man-to-man on the back end, and well covered by Nebraska, but the guy they didn't cover is the quarterback. And when a quarterback can break contain against man-to-man on the back end, all of those defenders now have their back to the quarterback, as they did with Joel Stave right there.
Injuries up front for this offensive line. They don't have Melvin Gordon in the backfield anymore. It's a much different looking offense than last season. A stretch to Deal, and he tries to get to the edge, but a good chase down on the outside for this Husker defense. And it is Webber again in that middle linebacker spot.
Now this is going to come right into your living room. You see the penetration by Malik Collins. He's a special player in there, and what he's lacked is his compadre, Valentine, beside him. And it's about spilling the play outside, and then the outside leverage guys making plays. That was a great example of it.
Despite the Husker injuries, very good against the outside rush. Second down and 9. Four-man pressure. Stave gets rid of it quickly into a very tight window for Robert Wheelwright. The junior out of Columbus picks up 14 and a first down.
Talk about perfect ball placement. That's what it looks like right there. Matched up on Rose is Wheelwright, and talk about a small window. There was coverage underneath by Chris Webber. Almost got his hand on it. Rose was right on Wheelwright's back, and the ball still got to his chest.
First down for the 25. Some shifting on this front and an unbalanced look to the left. Stave goes to the one-on-one matchup on the outside, and it is off the hands of Tanner McAvoy, the former quarterback, and Josh Kalu was right there, nearly picked it off for Nebraska.
And Joel Stave has that ability at the line of scrimmage. It was a run call, and then if he sees this softness outside, he can just raise up and throw it to the slant. It was McAvoy on that play. The ball a little bit off his body, and he's lucky that one didn't get picked off.
Can Stave do something with his arm as you see McAvoy, the former quarterback, on the outside? Wisconsin ran for 539 against Nebraska last year. Stave on a deep drop with pressure coming, throws to a falling down McAvoy, incomplete with Rose in coverage, and it brings up third down and 10.
A 3-by-1 set, the 3 to the right, and then McAvoy was by himself to the left. And if Stave likes the matchup, it was just a simple comeback route, and it just was a little premature and a little bit off target.
Eighth play of this Wisconsin drive. Huskers bring a twist. Stave off his back foot, throwing a comeback route, and it was nearly picked up in a very tight window by Alex Erickson. Suffered that concussion against Iowa, cleared and back this week, but Stabby under pressure couldn't get a clean throw, and it's 4th down. The field goal unit will likely come out with the wind to their back.
And the pressure did force a throw on the seam before Stabby would have liked to throw it. Right there, the defender is not even looking, and the pressure was by Ganguish right there, and that pressure was important because it prompted Stabby to throw it before he wanted to.
Rafael Gaglianone with the wind to his back on a 43-yard try. And he hooked it left, no good. He only missed 3 times last year. That's his 5th miss in 2015. The wind will play havoc in Lincoln all day long. The wind to the Brazilian-born Gaglianone's back. Could not control it, could not get it through, and we're scoreless. Was shoveling snow when he was 26 years old, and Mike Riley gave him a call and said, hey, come to San Antonio and coach with me in the World League. That's how this relationship got started. Stints together in Oregon State and with the San Diego Chargers, coaching against each other for the first time as head coaches. Terrell Newby on the first play of this Nebraska drive takes it out for 9 to the 34-yard line before Tyndall is there for to stop 2 teams that have had to replace big-time running backs.
And that was a great block by the fullback, Andy Jankovic, right there. And that was old-school Nebraska football. Lead with the fullback, he locks onto a linebacker, and then you get an I-back up in behind him. That was well executed.
No Melvin Gordon for Wisconsin, no Amir Abdullah for Nebraska. There's that window dressing before the snap, and Newby has it up for the first down, just past the 35-yard line. Running into Olive Songapolu, the true freshman out of Huntington Beach, California.
And Songapolu at the nose tackle is the true two-gapper. He's the 320-pounder that has the body type to play that position and occupy both A-gaps. And we'll see Sheehy as well. He is not well equipped for that position, so he's typically a move guy.
Yeah, they've struggled up the middle against the power run of Alabama and a little bit against Iowa as well. On first down, high snap handle, going to give to Imani Cross and a very short gain. Don't forget, later on tonight, we've got a great doubleheader. We want to talk about power run of Alabama. Derrick Henry ran for 147 and 3 touchdowns against Wisconsin. Alex Collins, a very good back on the other side. And then this is the premier Pac-12 game of the week. Cal and Utah. Cal has not won in Utah since the early 60s. Great doubleheader tonight on ESPN. Second down, 7 for Nebraska. More movement. That's Alonzo Moore in motion. And Newby is able to slip a backfield tackle and turn the legs for a strong run to set up a much more manageable 3rd and 2. Chris Orr finally wrapped him up.
Nebraska's offensive line right now is doing a very good job of maintaining blocks. On tape, you could see that, you know, they had the idea, but they just weren't consistently getting to their landmark. They're already better here this afternoon, Adam.
There was some turnover on this line. Mark Polini gone, Mike Maudie gone. Nick Gates, a right tackle, is a redshirt freshman, and they're moving up front for these backs right now. 3rd and 2. It's a fake to Brandon Riley, and Armstrong diving forward with a flag down. He dove about a yard shy of the line to gain with Tyndall in pursuit. But we'll have to check the marker from John O'Neill's crew.
I think this is going to be on Sethan Carter. He was the kind of the wingback tight end out on the edge right there, and I think he just got a handful of jersey.
Holding. Offense number 11. Penalties declined. Result of the play is 4th down.
It was.
What do you think here, partner?
It was 3rd down and 2. They declined the penalty to set up 4th and 1 across the 40.
I think it's a good call. You know, this is going to be really a field position game.
It feels like that, right?
Yeah, it's an old school Big Ten feel right now, and it's going to be a lot of butting heads, and the production may actually come like in the 4th quarter, maybe not before that.
So Shelton back for a second Sam Foltz punt. Good punt by Foltz. Forcing him to backpedal, but it bounces inside the 5 and we're clear into the end zone. It's a net punt of just 35 yards from Sam Foltz. Not a good start to his day so far. On an unseasonably warm day in Lincoln, it is picture perfect for Big Ten football. The pep rally Kelly, in Lincoln, Nebraska, a tradition before every home football game. One of the great atmospheres in college football. Another sellout in Lincoln today on a beautiful October afternoon. Well over 70 degrees, unseasonably warm here in Lincoln. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan on hand as Wisconsin starts its drive from the 20-yard line in a scoreless first quarter. Feels like old school Big Ten football halfway through the first. Pitch to Taiwan Deal with blockers in front. Dan Volts, the center, getting out in front for a gain of about a yard and a half. Kelly, this is a banged-up offensive line. Bo Benshaw at right tackle is making his first career appearance in a college football game. He'll mix in with Walker Williams, number 62. Those two guys, along with Micah Capoy, three guys young for two spots on the line.
Yeah, the right tackle spot, I think they were looking for people like on campus to try to play that position because Maxwell and Beagle are both gone, and you talked about Benshaw getting his first action at all out there on right tackle now.
Four-man rush, quick slant, caught by Erickson. It'll be third down and short, more with Olivia Harlan.
Benshaw was told just yesterday he would get the start here in Lincoln. Like we said, the Badgers are 3 deep at right tackle, and I talked to offensive coordinator Joe Rudolph before the game, and he told me they actually considered starting him at the start of the season. He was that good. He was just too injured. Good to see him back now.
Yeah, he's dealing with a knee injury in camp, Olivia, so he couldn't make it on that first team, and he's out there in a big 3rd and 1 trying to make the push for the run game of Wisconsin. Up the middle. It's a give to Alec Engel, the former linebacker, sliding over to running back, and he gets drilled with a flag down on the play. Byerson Cockrell, the safety there for the stop, but the flag thrown by John O'Neill's crew.
Offside, defense number 7. 5-yard penalty. Distance results in a first down.
Malik Collins with the penalty and a break for Wisconsin.
Yeah, and that might explain some of the penetration. Malik Collins is wound up today, and he's playing pretty well, but he got tremendous penetration. It's because he got off a little bit too early. Right there over the nose in that A-gap, and he gets by quickly. But he's wound up. Look for number 7, Malik Collins, to have a big afternoon.
Taiwan Deal limped off the field after that first down play. Now it's another first down with Ingold out releasing as a running back in the pattern. Pass is caught on the outside in front of Rose by wheel right as we check in with Cassidy Hubbard.
Adam, we have an injury update. If you're weak at heart, turn away. On the first play of the game, Nick Chubb's left leg buckles. He was helped off the field. He's now headed back to the locker room. Needless to say, a tough injury for the Bulldogs. Adam?
A guy who's been stringing together 100-yard game after 100-yard game. That is a huge loss for Georgia going up against Tennessee today. First down and 10 after the 11-yard pickup by wheel right to the 45. Here's Ingold. The good lead block and gets spun down after a very short game. Maybe about a yard on the play. Jack Gangwish, who's been dealing with an elbow injury off the edge, there for the stop.
And it's the power play once again, and Wisconsin is going to do this until the cows come home. And they may gash you early, but even if they don't, the test is what do you look like and how is your heart in the fourth quarter? I mean, sometimes the running game for Wisconsin does not pay off until late when they just flat wear out their opponent.
Sticking with Dari Ogunbowale with Deal getting checked out on the trainer's table on the Wisconsin sideline. Deep drop to let deep routes develop for Stavi, who gets hit as he throws and nearly was picked off by Nate Gary. Would have been his 3rd interception of the season, and Stavi gets away with a big mistake there.
Well, Chris Weber, the linebacker from his middle linebacker position, gets the pressure. Pressure leads to premature throws that lead to inaccurate passes that should have led to a huge play by Nebraska, and Gary just puts that one on the ground. Huge missed opportunity right there.
Good technique by Nate Gary, the safety. Good teaching by Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator. Play clock down to 2. Stavi wants the snap, and he gets it before the clock winds down. Against pressure into another tight window. Could not connect with Troy Fumagalli. Marcus Newby with very good coverage on the pass-catching tight end. 4th down.
When you can slide your outside linebacker out wide to cover cover the tight end. And a pretty good pocket right there, but that ball was a little bit behind the tight end. And Newby, the outside linebacker, had really good coverage on the tight end. And right now, Nebraska likes their matchup in the pass game. A lot of man-to-man, keeping a safety on the top, but man-to-man underneath.
Drew Meyer to punt to Jordan Westerkamp. Good hang time here, but it is far too deep. Net punt is just 33. Out to the 20-yard line comes Nebraska when you come back. Back in Lincoln, the second biggest city in the state of Nebraska behind Omaha. Aflac. Sup, Duck? Aflac trivia question. Which former Wisconsin head coach was a player at Nebraska? And I feel like you got to know this one, pal.
I'm all over that.
We'll have the answer for you in just a little bit. Huskers have the ball from the 20-yard line and a fake by Armstrong to Newby. Setting up for a deep shot. Downfield. Jamal Turner. And he was out of bounds when he made the catch. The officials hacked his off as he was driven out of bounds before trying to come back in. Good coverage by Shelton and Caputo, second down.
And I don't really argue with the throw by Armstrong because it was kind of where the receiver could get it, Turner or nobody could. But the bottom line is he was very well covered, and the safety had plenty of time to get over because that ball was in the air forever. He has to take better care of the football.
Armstrong playing at his home stadium, but throwing into the wind. The wind has died down a little bit, but it is difficult to throw into that wind, especially in a high ball. There's Newby with a header steam and not much there. Maybe a yard on the play, and it'll bring up third down and long. Tommy Armstrong, I mentioned it, playing here in Lincoln. He's been very good in his career. 11-3 on the road, not as sharp, and you can understand that, and a lot of quarterbacks have similar splits, but it's very drastic with Armstrong. Home field advantage very good here in Nebraska. It's a very quiet 90,000 plus right now as it's third down and 9 for their Huskers. Blitz coming on a late blitz. Armstrong scrambles out of the pocket and a difficult throw across his body and nearly somehow found Ethan Carter, but Caputo in coverage along with Beagle chasing him down. And a good stand by Wisconsin's D.
And these are the type of throws that the new staff just simply does not want Armstrong making. A very good job as an athlete getting outside the pocket, but right there it has to be a better decision. Throw the football away, punt the football. This is a field position Big Ten game anyway. You can't throw it into harm's way right there.
So the second 3-and-out for Nebraska leads to another Fultz punt, his third already today. He's averaging 34 in his first 2 kicks. A bit of a slow get-off time that time, a little around 2 seconds, but he's able to get it away and get a decent bounce. A 47-yard punt, Fultz's best of the day so far. So here's the answer to our trivia question. Which former Wisconsin head coach was a player at Nebraska?
Barry Alvarez, right?
Of course, you nailed it, my friend. Linebacker in the mid-60s and a fantastic head coach. 119 career victories as a head coach.
What is he doing in that picture?
He's kind of lumbered around.
The reality is, if the Nebraskans didn't get that question, then they get like booted out of the state.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite to get in.
That's about as easy as it gets for the guys who live here.
Of course, the current athletic director at Wisconsin. Answer to our athletic trivia question is Barry Alvarez. Stabby slings it outside for Erickson, right in front of Josh Kalu.
And that's what Stabby has to take, especially first down passing, where you have to know what's required. You can't put the ball into harm's way, but a lot of softness out on the edge. Bang it out there. That's like stealing on first down.
And that was a rare first down pass in the early going for Wisconsin, taking advantage there. Ogun Bawale is the back, and the deal was getting checked out on the sidelines on the previous Wisconsin series. Ogun Bawale ducking down, and he looks to the 40. He'll set up third down about 3 here as McMullen was there on the stop. Very good defensive end on a banged-up Nebraska defense.
Are we getting anything out of Vincent Valentine at this point in time? I haven't seen him in there a whole lot, and that's what Mark Banker was talking about. He would like to have both of his defensive defensive tackles because Malik Collins is a special player, especially when he has someone beside him. And we haven't seen Valentine out there a whole lot. That ankle is a big question mark.
Olivia told us about it, that high ankle sprain he's been dealing with the last 3 weeks. Kept him out. He's on the sideline for 3rd and 3. Just a 4-man rush on 3rd and short. Stabby with a good pocket, a zip pass into a tight window, and it's incomplete. Looking for Eric Steffes, the 3rd-string tight end who has stepped up today with the injury to Traylor. Good coverage that time by Cochran.
Newby was in on it again, and once again, you see Nebraska is very comfortable with the back end and also the linebackers in coverage, and they're matching up really well on those underneath routes and those tight ends, which is where Wisconsin wants to throw the football. They're not a real downfield type of team in the pass game.
Westerkamp to punt away. Another good hang time, but he's kicking into the wind, or with the wind, and that is twice carried the ball into the end zone. That's a net punt of 40 yards. Nebraska ball as we check in with Cassidy in the studio.
All right, let's check out this Buffalo Wild Wings wild play on the opening kickoff. J.U. Chesson goes 96 yards to the house, and after an NU 3-and-out, Michigan tacked on another touchdown. The Wolverines have a streak of 73 unanswered posts in over 2 games. Back to you, Adam.
Big game. Northwestern especially has made this Big Ten West that much more competitive. Iowa won earlier today against Illinois, so they're 2-0 in conference play, but all Wolverines early. Armstrong cutting the field in half, rolling the pocket and throwing wide. Incomplete, looking for DeMornay Pearson-L, his 2nd game back this season from that foot injury. This is going to look like a much better division, and certainly in the early part of the season it has. Let's give you our Big Ten scoreboard. Ohio State got challenged early today, then blew away Maryland in the final game for Randy Edsall as the head coach of the Maryland Terrapins. Michigan in action. Penn State beat Indiana, so that's 2 losses in a row for the Hoosiers. 2nd down and 10. First down. Kept stringing it out until he found the hole he liked, and he busted open for 16 and a first down.
And Newby has this ability. This is just a stretch play outside. You can see the release by 35, Janovich, the fullback. When a fullback is in the game, which they're kind of a rare breed at this point in time in college football, but find the fullback and you usually find the football. And Newby did a good job. He didn't hesitate a whole lot. Patient at the beginning, stretch it, and then get downhill.
Well, you have to replace Amir Abdullah, 6,600 all-purpose yards in his career, the 2nd-round pick of the Lions. That's a big task. Slinging it on first down, incomplete, looking for Brandon Riley, 2nd leading receiver on this team. We told you about all those Big Ten games. You got plenty of games to watch, and you can check them all out on Watch ESPN on this College Football Saturday. Stream any game live. You can download the Watch ESPN app or go to watchespn.com right now. And we'll keep you up to date on everything going on today. He's probably on his phone right here, watching Watch ESPN.
That guy's doing it as well. I don't blame him. We do it all the time.
Our production crew's probably just watching their phones instead of looking at our game right now, too. 2nd down and 10. Here's Newby with a lot of real estate. Looking for a seam, but he got run down by the freshman Chris Orr, making his 3rd straight start. It's a gain of 6, bringing up 3rd and 4.
Once again, the fullback Andy Janovich doing a very good job of softening to the edge, and that's where Nebraska wants to go. And obviously, Wisconsin knows that. Dave Aranda talked about they're a perimeter run team, sideline to sideline, but then they have backs that are learning how to plant a foot and get downhill. And you see Newby doing that in the last couple of plays.
Tight set to the line to the left here. Got Pearson-L by himself on the right side. And Armstrong is swinging it out, looking for Devine Ozigbo, the true freshman out of Texas. And Armstrong struggling passing the football right now. He's 1 for 6.
And this ball is just thrown way too soon. You have Ozigbo right there releasing, and he's going to run a wheel route. And he's actually covered by Sitchy at that point in time. And you have to let your running back get down the field a little bit if he's running the wheel. He acted like he was throwing to the flat that time, did Armstrong.
So they've got 2 first downs to the Huskers. This will be the 4th Sam Foltz punt already in this game. And now Alex Erickson is back to return for the first time. Good spiraling punt. 10th career punt return for Erickson. And he gets dragged down by Janovich. A lot of people in Lincoln have been writing that this guy should have been named a team captain. A former walk-on turned scholarship player, had a good game against Southern Miss running the ball a couple of weeks ago, and he does everything, all the little things very well for this team.
Yeah, and that position, the fullback, the walk-on fullback in particular at Nebraska is kind of legendary stuff, and Janovich is right in the middle of all that. He embraces that position and the lead blocker. And there we see Valentine again, and Olivia talked about that. Heavy tape on that high ankle sprain, but he needs to be productive on the inside because we know that Malik Collins can be productive as well.
Stavy on first down, another pass off the deep drop, and a deep throw is caught. Alex Erickson out across the 40-yard line. His first big catch since coming back from that concussion. A 21-yard play, the best of the day on either side, ends what was a very defensive first quarter of football. Kelly, feels like old school Big Ten football right now.
Yeah, we thought it would be. You're right.
Scoreless ball game. We're back after this message from your local ABC station. 344th straight sellout, an NCAA record at Memorial Stadium going back to 1962. Bob Devaney's first season as the head coach of the Cornhuskers. Feels like old school Big Ten though. Scoreless game, Wisconsin and Nebraska. Badgers go into the wind here. And Stavy will throw into that wind. A deep out route, and it's caught by Erickson. His second big play of the day. And he's inside the Nebraska 40-yard line. Wrapped up by Kalu at the 38.
And Erickson turned Kalu around, and a play-action pass, and then Erickson just one-on-one outside, runs a comeback, and got great separation at the top of that route. There's the big plays right there, and this Wisconsin offense feeds off of big plays, and they haven't had a lot this year. But last year was all about Melvin Gordon in the big play, right?
You led the country in 50-plus, 40-plus, 30-plus, 20-plus yard runs. To give to Ingle, and he gets smothered immediately by Vincent Valentine. A loss of 1 on the play. Again, been nursing that ankle injury. Was on the sideline for a couple series to see how he was feeling. He's feeling all right.
Yeah, there's a lot of tape on those ankles, but those are big ankles at 6'3", 320. But if you put Valentine next to Malik Collins, you have something going inside against this power run game that Wisconsin's going to present until the last tick of the clock.
It's the reason they're so good against the outside rush. They force teams to the outside with those big inside.
How many times do we hear it's a spill defense?
That's
spill
right.
it outside and let the outside guys clean it up.
Second down 11, deep drop for Stavy. He's got one-on-one on the outside. Good comeback route in front of Jonathan Rose, and the catch by Jordan Frederick is made close to the sticks, about 2 yards shy of the line to gain.
Good timing on the back shoulder, and the wide receiver is looking back for the football, and he sees his quarterback throw it, and the defender doesn't see it. It's very good timing between the two of them on that play.
And again, he had possession, hit the ground before it was stripped away from him. Third down for Bucky Badger. Nebraska shows pressure and brings 5. So Stavy rolling the pocket under pressure, but the catch was made out of bounds by Erickson. His left foot was already out of bounds by the time he possessed the ball. Gangwish forced Stavy into a tough throw, and it's 4th and 2, and decision time deep in Nebraska territory.
And I think that play was all about, the play call, all about going for it right here. Flushed out 95, Gangwish gets to him, throws an errant pass, and I think you go for it right here.
Again, going into the wind, making it a much more difficult kick for Gongley.
That's exactly the decision. I think you're right.
He already missed from 43 with the wind, so they'll skip the 46-yarder into it and go for it on 4th and 2. Crowd getting loud. Stavy using a timeout, and we'll step aside as well. Perhaps some extra time for Paul Chris to think about it. 4th and 2 when you come back to Lincoln. Back to the early 60s, Nebraska's first-team defense has been known as the Black Shirts. Wisconsin's offense is out there for 4th down and 2 against this Husker D. Inside the 30. Just a four-man rush. Underneath throw, and it's caught for a first down by Fumagalli. The redshirt sophomore tight end in place of Austin Traylor makes a clutch catch in front of Young for a first down.
And Young actually had pretty decent coverage from his outside linebacker position, but a nice route by Fumagalli. 6'6", 250. He basically just posts up like a man down in the paint, and the quarterback Stave puts it on him.
They've been passing a lot today. Joel Stave already 15 passes. He's connected on 8 of them for 90 yards. Another pass on first down. Looking for that corner route, and it's nearly intercepted by Kalu. Looking for Erickson, his top target, but good coverage by the sophomore out of Houston.
Erickson went to the corner that time, Adam, and very good coverage by Kalu, and kind of ran the route. And that's what you do. Get in the hip pocket, see the angle of the receiver, and then make a play on the ball. And defensive coordinator Mark Banker talked about, we haven't made many plays. That one went to the ground. That easily could have been an interception as well.
50-50 balls. That's the season of Nebraska's, or story of Nebraska's season on defense, right?
And they've made 0 plays on 50-50 balls.
BYU, Illinois, that 50-yard pass last week to set up the touchdown. Those have stuck out to Nebraska fans on defense. It's a give to Ogunbowale, but a flag before the snap for a false start.
False start. Offense number 62. 5-yard penalty.
That's one of those 3 guys on the 2 right side spots of the line. That was Walker Williams in just his 11th career game.
They have to learn each other's name over on the right side because they're mix and match. But this is where Joel Stave has to make plays. The run game is suffering. The defense is playing well, which is really Wisconsin's MO. You have to make plays in the pass game to overcome negative plays that they just had.
What a difference a year makes, and what a difference no Melvin Gordon makes, huh? They ran all over Nebraska last year with one of the top backs in the country. Stave to his running back, Ogunbowale, and it's incomplete. Good chase down by Marcus Newby, the redshirt sophomore outside linebacker. Closing speed for this guy to force 3rd and long.
Newby has matched up well on tight ends, and this time a running back. Break on the ball, break up the play. 3-by-1 set, and to that side was 1 receiver outside, and then they were isolating Newby on a running back, and Newby won that one.
What do you want to see here? Because they might be out of field goal range right now.
Yeah, you have to throw the ball down the field once again. Stave has to be protective of the football, however.
Well protected. Stave, timing route, diving catch, first down, Jazz Peavy. Just past the sticks. They needed 15 and got 16. Just the 7th career catch for Peavy. It comes at a big time.
The rhythm and timing of this play. Peavy breaks it off just as the quarterback released the football. That ball was about halfway there before Peavy ever picked it up. Low into the outside, and Rose had no shot. Maybe a slight push-off by Peavy, the receiver, but the kind of push-off you can get away with at that position.
A hamstring issue his first couple of years. He's got very soft hands. He showed it there. From the 14, here's Ingold, the true freshman out of Green Bay, trying to backpedal his way to the 10. He'll get to the 11 on a gain of about 3.
And that was a true power that time. And the difference between a power and a counter, on a power, the tight end leads, and then a lineman pulls and gets their second. On a counter, there's a counter step in the backfield that allows the lineman to get there first, and then a tight end will be the second blocker. That was a power play right there.
Ogunbowale still the back on 2nd and 7. Another deep drop for Stave. Throwing towards the goal line and nearly picked up, but a penalty marker is thrown. Byerson Cochran is all over Erickson, who's going to get flagged here at the goal line.
Question is this offensive pass interference or defensive, because the defender became the receiver there, read the route really well, and broke on it exceptionally well. Cockrell matched up on Erickson.
This would be a half the distance penalty if it's against the defense. This would put him a little bit further back on 2nd down if it's against Wisconsin.
Pass interference. Defense.
Oh, they were in the end zone apparently, or a spot foul. It might have been a spot foul at the 2.
And Cockrell played this really well. just breaking out by Erickson. Drives on the football and does get there a little bit early. Typically, especially deep in the red zone, they allow that kind of contact. When the defender has as much right for the football as the receiver does, I don't really agree with that pass interference right there.
But it was called to the end zone. That's why it's at the 2-yard line. First and goal. Jumbo set. And another flag flies for a false start.
Offense number 81. 5-yard penalty, still first down.
That was for Magali off the tight end spot. So they go from the 2 to the 7.
Adam, Nebraska's, I mean, they're a highly penalized team.
The most penalized in the country.
And it's where the penalties happen. And that was a bad one right there. And I didn't really agree with the call, but it's where the penalties occur. Not necessarily how many, but that one hurts.
Yeah, that pass interference penalty really hurts them.
52 penalties.
4 chances, despite the false start against Wisconsin. 4 chances to get to the end zone, perhaps. Or at the very least, get points on the board for the Badgers. Stabby, another throw, and it's wrapped up and slung down. It is Valentine, his 5th career sack.
And Olivia, I think Valentine's tape job is working just a little bit here. He's making some really nice plays, and he's in the middle, right over the center, and he's going to get active in a heartbeat. I think I had the right guy right there. That's a bull rush, and then the quickness to get to the quarterback. And Walker Williams is one of the guys filling in, and Valentine just treated him poorly right there.
On a loss of 7 from the 14. Stabby underneath to Peavy, and he makes his second big catch of this drive. Sets him up at the 8-yard line in front of Jones. It'll bring up 3rd down and goal here for the Badgers.
Nebraska's defense have defended things well this year, except in the pass game. Their run defense is great, but red zone defense has been really good. 38% allowing touchdowns. They need to keep Wisconsin out of the end zone right here.
Of football, 20 minutes of football without a score so far. 3rd down and goal. And another flag, or at least a whistle. No, it's going to be a timeout. It will be a Nebraska timeout, their first, with 9:52 to play.
Prior to the snap, charge timeout, Nebraska. Full media timeout.
We'll step aside. In a couple of years, it'll be the 100-year anniversary of the Dairy Store. Ice cream, cheese, meats, all homemade stuff, farm-grown, Lincoln community and beyond.
We could live in there.
I think we could. Adam Mead, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan. It was 1st and goal at the 2 for this Badger offense. It's now 3rd and goal. Wheelwright by himself at the bottom of the formation. Stabby to throw to the end zone, and it is caught. It is a touchdown for Fumagalli. His first career touchdown. The redshirt sophomore gets the Badgers on the board with his 2nd catch of the day.
Fumagalli is the inside receiver in a 3-by-1 set and just goes up and breaks it off with that big body once again. It's the timing of the throw by Stabby. You can see him coming right at you, and the coverage was by Cockwell, and the coverage wasn't poor, but the throw was great, and the route was very good as well.
Been a lot of passing today for Stabby, and that 13-play drive ends with a touchdown pass, the first of Fumagalli's career for a reception and a score. Austin Traylor had 3 receptions for touchdowns this year. He's out. He might be out for maybe even a month or 2. So Troy Fumagalli steps into that role as a top pass-catching target at tight end. He's got the score, and the Badgers have the lead. Celebrating its 11th year, sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for every field goal and extra point kicked. And to date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. Badgers on the board first, 7-0 here in the second quarter. A long drive commanded by Joel Stavia. A confident-looking drive with some of his great throws leading to a Fuma Valley score.
He's been a confident-looking quarterback here this afternoon. We talked about at the top that that's probably the difference in this game if that young man can play with the confidence he has thus far.
Endicott with a kick, and it will be a return for Jordan Nelson. They got Jordan Stevenson, right? Nelson and Stevenson back there. The former Badger with his first touch out to the 19. Last drive looked good for Jordan.
Yeah, and rhythm and timing, Adam, is about confidence. And he's making quick decisions. He's very decisive, and he's throwing the ball out to places that only his guy can get. And in this case, he pays it off in the red zone. And we talked about, I think the baseline for Wisconsin this year is their defense and maybe eventually a more productive run game. But the ceiling is going to be determined by Joel Stavia. If he plays like this throughout the year, his team's going to be in the middle of this conference.
Last year got beat out by Tanner McAvoy for the starting quarterback job. Went into a bit of a mental funk. A lot of people were talking about yips and things like that for Stavia. Apparently wasn't mentally ready last year. Took some games, took some time. Debuted in Big Ten play and eventually worked his way into a solid season.
I'm very proud of him, by the way. I mean, that's tough to come out of at the quarterback position. I probably ended my career with what you just described.
Correction. We will re-kick from the 25-yard line, 30-yard line.
John O'Neill just gave us an offsides penalty against Wisconsin on the kick. So instead of taking 5 yards to the 24-yard line, Nebraska is going to see if maybe they can get a better opportunity at a return with either Stevenson or Nelson. Remember, you're kicking into the wind. This is a different, we're going to keep talking about it as the day goes on. Because when you kick and you're watching your screen, when the kicks go from left to right on your television screen, the wind is whipping into the face of the kickers.
Yeah, this ball is not going to the end zone, so Nebraska will have a chance to set up maybe a different return, more productive than last time. But let me finish on Joel Stavia.
Yeah.
At the quarterback position, when you lose your confidence, it isn't like getting back on the bicycle again.
Right.
The world of football does not stop, and that young man rebounded really well. Played really well in the middle of last season when his team needed it. He can be the difference maker this year. They have a championship defense. Their running game under Chris will get going. If he plays well, this team's going to be in the thick of things in this conference.
I think it's a great point. People are going to look at Joel Stavia as the key, more than likely, to this offense as they go. So Endicott, after missing last week, goes back to work. Again, a kick into the wind now from the 30-yard line. And a run up by the former Badger, Jordan Stevenson. And he gets chopped down. Good play by this special teams unit. And we check in with Cassidy Hubbard in the studio.
All right, Adam, let's take a look at who's getting it done, presented by Wells Fargo. Jalen Hurd did not get it done as he fumbles on the 4, but Gio Leonard-Floyd does as he recovers the football and goes 96 yards. Georgia has scored again and now leads 14-3 in the second. Adam, Kelly, back to you.
How about that, Cassidy? Remember, Cassidy told us earlier today, Nick Chubb dealing with a bit of an injury issue earlier in this game. Georgia's defense getting it done. Both those head coaches in a tough spot right now. Jones and Mark Richt. Big game for both of them in the SEC. Divine Ozigbo on first down. Not much there. Maybe about a gain of a yard or so. I don't know if you want to put Butch Jones on the hot seat or Mark Richt on the hot seat, but a guy who is definitely on the hot seat is Al Golden. Miami Hurricanes go on the road to take on unbeaten and number 12 Florida State. They've lost 5 straight to the Seminoles. We'll see how Dalvin Cook is, the outstanding running back for Florida State, dealing with that hamstring issue. But you'll see it tonight at 8 Eastern, Saturday Night Football, presented by Wells Fargo. Second down 9 for Armstrong and the Huskers. Good pocket to throw from. He threw behind his receiver, Stanley Morgan, the true freshman. But he's able to corral it at the 29 for 5 yards to set up third down.
And Armstrong's ball placement today has been horrendous, to be quite honest with you. He's had receivers open, and in that particular case, if he just throws it on the front shoulder, there's some yards after the carry to run out of that one. And that ball just went to the ground. A good job by Morgan going down and getting it.
2 for 7 for 9 total yards on passes, guys. That's Armstrong's good. Yeah. High snap against to his arm side, he finds Westerkamp, and there is Jordan Westerkamp, this team's leading receiver. He's got the first down out near the 40-yard line, run out by McAvoy.
That's when Nebraska's pass game is at their best. Move Armstrong, and in this case, he's going to his left, but they talked about that yesterday. He's good going to his left, even though it's a right-handed thrower. And then throw the ball to number 1. Your roommate. Go ahead and get him the ball. That's a good idea.
Remember, this is a guy in Armstrong who is playing a different system, but you can't take away the things that still make him really good, right?
Get him on the move, quarterback run. That's what they're trying to get into this offense.
First down from the 39. Well protected again. Good timing right, but good coverage against Riley. It was Derek Tyndall on the coverage that time on the outside, the sophomore. This crowd wanted a pass interference call, but it looked like he timed it pretty well against Riley.
It was very good coverage by Tyndall on Riley, but remember, Cockrell got called for one that I think was a little bit ticky-tack. There's a little holding coming out of the top of the route, but Tyndall did not go through the receiver to get to that football, so I agree with nothing should have been called there. Just like nothing should have been called on Cockrell, by the way, a few plays ago.
Yeah, that was a tough pass interference on that previous Wisconsin drive against Nebraska. Armstrong, whether it was a fake or a broken play, he ends up running it left and running into McAvoy and running for about 5 yards.
Yeah, that was by design, and this is the quarterback run. It's the power game, play action or a fake in the backfield, and then it's, see those two guys up front?
Yeah.
You have a lineman pulling, and then you have Janovich, the fullback, also leading. That's a design power play with the quarterback.
What did Wisconsin's defensive coordinator Dave Aranda tell us? Their quarterback run game is like art. It's like a Pollock painting because of the movement and the misdirection that leads to Armstrong running for a lot of yards. 3rd down and 4. Blitz off the edge. He got rid of it before it got there, and it's Westerkamp, who's got some of the best hands you'll find on a college wide receiver. He's got it in Wisconsin territory on an 8-yard reception.
And Westerkamp is the chain mover for Nebraska's offense, and they found him a couple of times on this drive. That ball wasn't well placed because there was running room coming out the other side by Westerkamp, but the good hands, and he goes down and gets it. First play in the opponent's territory. You have to get there in order to get points, and maybe they're on to something now.
Solid drive so far. First snap from the Badger zone. To give to Ozabo, and he tries to slip through, but TJ Edwards corrals him. Still a very good first down run from the true freshman from Saxe, Texas, who had a very good game last week, his first career touchdown against Illinois.
Well, Nebraska elected to not redshirt the young man, and then they were like, well, every time we give him reps in practice, he flashes more and more, but yet we haven't played it. Well, they learned something last week, and they're going to get him touches here today.
7 for 70 and a score against the Illini last week. Again, they loaded up the right side, but Armstrong goes left. And with a great block by Janovich, there goes Tommy Armstrong. It's 1st and goal, Nebraska.
We talked about the quarterback design run, and we're going to see Carter, the tight end, and Janovich as well.
Now, there may be a penalty marker here from Cal.
Illegal formation.
Oh, wow.
5 men in the backfield offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
We just saw the flag. It was back at the 40-yard line, right around where the snap took place, and that negates a 35-yard run.
Yeah, I think an offensive lineman, probably this one right here, is classified as being in the backfield, not on the line of scrimmage enough. Go ahead and let that roll now, guys. But a beautifully designed play on purpose. You see the fullback leading, you see the Carter, the tight end, blocking, and a huge block by Janovich, the fullback down the field. That's beautiful stuff. Nebraska's not done with that play. They may flip it and run it to the other side right here.
Yeah, Condola, the right guard, got called for that more than likely. Go back to the ground in Ozigbo. On 2nd and 10, Schobert is there on the tackle after a gain of 3. So 3rd down and 7. That penalty does negate the longest rush of the season by a Nebraska Cornhusker. Would have been a 35-yarder for Armstrong to send him up inside the 10. The penalties have been a major, major issue. The most penalized team in the country.
Nebraska doesn't like this down and distance. It was their nemesis last week. They couldn't close out that game in Illinois, but it's about Tommy Armstrong making good decisions at 3rd and 7 to continue to move the chains.
The twist against Armstrong with a long going out loud. It's caught for a first down. There's the first big play for Gamorne Pearson-L in his second game back. It's 19 yards and a first down.
Well, that's what Pearson-L, Adam, is supposed to bring to this offense. A great route run by Pearson-L and a tremendous throw by Armstrong. When Armstrong sets his feet, turns his shoulder to the proper place, and steps into his throw, he has that ability. He just has some bad habits down low that lead to errant throws. That was a picture-perfect pass right there.
From the 25-yard line, here is Imani Cross. He's a very good short yardage back, but he can bust some big runs open. He'll pick up 4 yards on first down there, running into T.J. Edwards.
We talked about Armstrong's mechanics. Watch the lower body. He sees his guy he wants to throw it to. He's fallen away a little bit, but he's getting into his throw much better than he saw on tape. There's still a little bit of stepping into the bucket right there, but he's doing a much better job with that than he did, trust me, at camp early in the fall.
Off the deep drop and play action, and it was nearly intercepted there. Looking downfield for Carter, and Tanner McAvoy, the former safety, turned quarterback, turned wide receiver and safety, nearly picked it.
Yeah, and Carter had a chance, but the ball needed to come out earlier. You can see Carter right there. That's where the ball needs to be. Adam, we talk so much. He's fallen away right there. We see Armstrong. And so what happens? The result is the ball doesn't have enough smoke on it at the other end. Step into that throw a fastball in front of your tight end, and you have a huge play for your offense right there.
3rd down and 6, big play for the Husker offense. 4-man rush underneath. Pearson-L with a blocker in front. And Pearson-L inside the 10. Will set up 1st and goal at the 9. That looked a little bit like a play called Sword that both Mike Riley and Paul Chryst developed together. Flow one way and send an underneath guy with a blocker.
You're talking about the football summit, aren't you?
That's right.
Yeah, they've come up with a lot of good things, and that was part of the screen game right there that Olivia told us that Pearson-L was going to come back and they're going to get him into the offense. And right there, get your playmakers the football in space. That's what this game of football is all about.
Zone read the cross. Armstrong keeps it. Gets wrapped up by a diving Vince Beagle after a gain of about 2 yards. It'll set up 2nd and goal. You see the Nebraska and Wisconsin numbers. Wisconsin's defense, just the 10th time they've allowed a team to get into the red zone. It's the 25th time for the Nebraska offense to get into the offensive red zone.
63% touchdowns when Nebraska gets down here, and they need to get in the end zone here and answer what Joel Stave did the last time Wisconsin had the football.
Pearson-L at the bottom of the formation. Armstrong looking there. Nothing there. This is where Tommy Armstrong is at his best, improvising to the pylon to score a touchdown for the Huskers.
Well, Tommy Armstrong's greatest asset is as a freelancer. He might have gotten a hold out on the edge by Nick Gase, but if it's not called, it doesn't exist, and Armstrong pays it off. The freelancer gets into the corner of the end zone. That's called an answer in college football, Adam.
Yes, sir. Ties the game at 7 apiece. Since giving up 35 points to Alabama in their opener, Wisconsin had been so stout defensively. They had allowed just 13 points in their last 4 games. This is only the 2nd touchdown in the last 17 quarters that the Wisconsin defense has allowed. Armstrong ties the game.
I want you looking at me. Tell me what do you see?
Cubs and Cards game 2 tonight. Mets Dodgers in game 2. SportsCenter at night will get you up to date on all of it after number 23 Cal and number 5 Utah on ESPN. SportsCenter at night, updating you on everything going on in college football and the Major League Baseball playoffs. We'll see you tonight on ESPN. Good kick by Drew Brown for a touchback. And let's take a look at today's AT&T strong performance and a very good 14-play, 77-yard drive engineered by Tommy Armstrong.
Yeah, this is all in that last scoring drive, and Armstrong hasn't looked this good probably since the second half of Miami. Good quarterback run. He's still falling away from his throw a little bit, but a good, accurate throw. Gets the ball to his playmaker, Pearsonell, which is what the quarterback's role mainly is, and then the freelancer makes a little bit of something out of nothing. That was good stuff by Tommy on that drive.
A little bit of life in Memorial Stadium again as Stabby works from the 25-yard line and rolls the pocket. Timing route with Erickson, out of bounds at the 31 after a half-dozen-yard game. Armstrong with the touchdown run a moment ago, his 10th career rushing touchdown. He's been a very good runner in his career, a good freelancer, but he did lead the Big Ten coming into today in yards passing and touchdown passes as well. We're seeing the blend, and that's when Armstrong's at his best.
And the blend is needed because you can't make Tommy into something he's not. But freelancer with progression offensive runs does not mix well.
Stabby, deep drop, good block from Ogunbowale. Another good pass on a timing route, looking for Wheelwright, just couldn't corral it off of his chest that time.
And Kalu was on the coverage, and what's happening in the secondary for Nebraska is there's not a lot of confidence in playing the football in the air. Kalu had no idea that that ball was coming.
Yeah.
And Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator, told us our guys in the back end still panic too much. And what you have to do is realize that the ball is coming to the hands. Even if you don't see it, count to 1,001 and rate the hands. Kalu needed to do it on that play.
Late blitz. Stabby gets rid of it before the pressure comes, but it's incomplete. Jonathan Rose on the coverage against George Rushing to force fourth down. That was a big play by the secondary that's been the worst pass defense in college football this year.
Yeah, Rushing was coming on the slant, and Wheelwright kind of created some space by a release to get Rushing free a little bit. But just very good coverage. That's one of the times that good coverage beats a decent throw and a pretty good route.
Solid kick by Meyer, and Westerkamp signals a fair catch at the 38-yard line. Decent field position for Nebraska on a 31-yard punt. Let's check in with Cassidy in the studio.
And let's talk about studio update. Michigan adding to their big lead in the big house. Jordan Lewis just rips the ball away and gets the pick six. Michigan now has touchdowns on offense, defense, and special teams. Not to mention they're working on another shutout, 28-0 in the second.
The last team in FBS to have 3 consecutive shutouts, Kansas State back in 1995. And through 2.5 games, that Michigan defense, one of the best in the country in terms of scoring and yardage, is stepping up again today. Armstrong, design quarterback run. Find a seam, and he works his way for about 4 yards. True 2-minute offense with 2 timeouts here for Nebraska, Cal.
Yeah, you have to move with a sense of purpose, but you don't really have to hurry. Those 2 timeouts, the first one's probably not going to be used until under a minute.
Give to Newby. Not much there. Good play by Beagle. Coming around, one of those excellent outside linebackers. He and Joe Schobert have been great veterans on the outside linebacker spot. It's 3rd and 4.
You certainly don't want to use a timeout here because you need to convert and not give Wisconsin a lot of time on the clock if you don't.
Well, if they don't get the 3rd down here, they want to take some time off the clock. Armstrong, collapsing pocket, falling down. What a catch! Stanley Morgan, the true freshman, dives into Wisconsin territory after an excellent highlight reel play.
And Tommy Armstrong to pressure and getting this ball off right at the last second. Climb in the pocket, get knocked to your chest and still gets that ball off. Great catch by Morgan.
Armstrong, his 15th pass of the day, is a bullet down the middle into a tough spot underneath. Caught by Seath and Cutter for 9 yards. Clock will continue to move at 50 seconds. Still both timeouts available for the Huskers. Getting into Drew Brown's field goal range. They're about 7 or 8 yards away from getting into it. Good blitz pickup. Armstrong with a lot of real estate. Firing into one-on-one coverage. dropper from Alonzo Moore. What a solid drive. Again, back-to-back solid drives engineered by Tommy Armstrong with a little help from his friends. Morgan and then Moore making highlight reel catches. And the Huskers have scored 14 points in the last 130 seconds. 14-7 Huskers.
Well, this is what extending the play looks like. Armstrong gets outside the pocket, and he has a huge arm. And it's a great throw when you realize the defender has his back to you. The route is just to go right outside. A good release. Moore does a good job of keeping the defender's hands off of him. And then he goes up and gets it right there. 6 feet tall, and he just climbs over Shelton. And Armstrong obviously likes the way that one paid off in the end.
You know what I got reminded of there? That Braden Lennius catch for Washington against USC the other night down the sideline, reaching over the defender. Except this one was good for a touchdown on an incredible play by Alonzo Moore.
And you know, Armstrong hasn't really demonstrated confidence in his receivers throughout the year like that. As a quarterback, you have to have a ton of confidence to throw the ball up and know that your guy will go get it over the defender, and that's what Moore did on that play for his quarterback, Tommy Armstrong.
A guy who's had shoulder surgery, missed time with injuries late last year. Alonzo Moore helping out Armstrong for that score. Again, the wind continues to blow, so Brown will need some help on the team. What a play by Alonzo Moore. Sports Center at night after Cal and Utah. Expect to see that one. Kicking with the wind, and Jamerson will not have a return. Wisconsin does have 2 timeouts with 31 seconds to go. We mentioned Cal-Utah, back end of our great doubleheader tonight. Alex Collins against Derrick Henry. 2 great rushing attacks. Alabama, number 8 in the country, hosts Arkansas. And then Jared Goff. A lot of people think he's the best quarterback in the country, best NFL prospect. You'll see him try to lead Cal to a rare road victory in Salt Lake City. Part of our ESPN doubleheader tonight starting at 7 o'clock Eastern.
Jared Goff is going to get tested tonight. You can see right there the top quarterbacks. Whole bunch of them right here in this conference. And then you see Wentz, the guy from North Dakota State. He's won about 3 national championships already, working on his 4th.
First down and 10. They'll keep it conservative to see what Ogunbowale can get. And he has a first down run. And now perhaps Wisconsin will get into offensive mode to get into field goal range at worst. 24 seconds. The clock stops to reset the chains.
And remember, they're going into about a 20-mile-an-hour headwind, so they have to get down there a long ways to make that field goal a legitimate attempt.
I'm surprised they don't use a timeout here. Took it off about 6 seconds. They'll keep it on the ground again, and the shifty moves by Ogunbowale, and another first down to the Nebraska 48-yard line. 10 seconds to go. You got to use a timeout here, don't you?
Yeah, they did use one of their 2 remaining timeouts, but I agree with you. How about the play before? You just wasted about 20 seconds getting to that play. A lot of times, that short time situation, you kind of decide what your approach is going to be based on the success or the lack thereof of the first play. They had a successful run, then you have to clock manage. I didn't agree with that right there.
Again, field goal range is a little bit skewed here for Rafael Gaglianone. His career long is a 51-yarder, but that was his college football debut in a dome in Houston on neutral turf against LSU. His long this season is 46, 2 of them last week against Iowa. But again, he's hitting into the wind, kicking into the wind, which makes it much more difficult. So you've got to go probably towards the 25 or so to really get Gaglianone comfortable.
At least. And yeah, this is a different making wind in the kicking game. There's no doubt. 20-mile-an-hour wind.
Do you think about Hail Mary here, too? Nebraska's been susceptible to the long pass play. BYU can talk about that. Starting from the 48-yard line. Shuffling, throwing underneath, incomplete for Ogunbowale. And 5 seconds to play and still a timeout. Likely that will not be a factor. Gangwish putting Stavi on his back there.
And that was important because it forced Stavi to backpedal because he had the running back coming out of the backfield wide open that had running room, and you probably get into better position to throw it into the end zone.
Gangwish got pushed into Stavi a little bit low. That could have been a dangerous play for Stavi.
Yeah, you can't go low on the quarterbacks anymore. Kind of the Tom Brady rule.
Three receivers wide with 5 seconds to go at the end of this half. Stavi will stay conservative with Ogunbowale, and there is McMullen to wrap up Ogunbowale and close out this first half. Wisconsin doesn't want to take a risk, and the Huskers with an offensive explosion at the end of this first half. They scored 14 points in about a 2-minute and 10-second span to go from down 7-0 to up 14-7.
Very conservative finish to that half by Wisconsin. At the very least, throw that thing into the end zone. I mean, Stave could have done that from where they were, and if you've seen the BYU tape, you know that you should have probably done that right there.
Let's go down to the field with Olivia Harlan.
Here. Coach, your defense didn't allow a touchdown for 17 quarters before that last one, where Nebraska got 2 in 2 different ways. What are the deficiencies on defense?
Well, they made some plays on that, and you know, we got to regroup, and we didn't think we were going to go the rest of the season for not giving up touchdowns. So just keep playing. We got a heck of a ball game, and we got to kind of regroup, clean up a couple things, and come out and play the second half.
On offense, very uncharacteristic, only 32 rushing yards. How confident are you in Stave's passing game in the second half?
Well, I think we're going to need both. If we're going to move the ball in the second half, and so we got to get the run game going, be a little bit more consistent. There's going to be a situation where Joel's got to make some plays and receivers, and we got to get better on third down.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.
14-7, Nebraska on top. Wisconsin ball to start the second half. We go back to the studio after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Just the 10th meeting all time between Nebraska and Wisconsin, but they've met every year since 2011 as Big Ten foes. Usually it's been Wisconsin big-time wins, big-time rushing, but Nebraska has the halftime lead. They won in Lincoln a couple of years ago. They're leading at halftime right now as we look at our State Farm halftime double check. Those things that made Wisconsin so good in this matchup, those last few meetings, the rushing not there in this matchup.
Yeah, they haven't been able to run the ball much at all, and they were only 18 yards before that last drive where they had the rest of those 45, and Nebraska got going in the second quarter because Armstrong got going, and then the defense is getting after Stave just enough. All those things are good for Nebraska.
Back in the broadcast booth, Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan as well. Tommy Armstrong continues to impress. I mean, it was a little bit shaky for Nebraska, especially. First 4 drives, they got nothing going. They explode in a couple of minutes for some big scores to take the lead.
Yeah, and it's the impromptu stuff by Tommy Armstrong. When he gets outside the pocket, good things happen, but he has to make really good decisions as well. And remember, a lot of times Wisconsin's power run game, Adam, pays off in the second half. So Nebraska's going to have to play well defensively, particularly in that front 4.
Here we go, big
Badger ball to start the half, kicking with the wind. Drew Meyer will get the touchback. Or rather, should say, will be a touchback, should say. Now, let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. We talked about Joel Stave as well in that first half. Veteran quarterbacks, pretty decent drive to lead a touchdown at one point.
Yeah, he was in pretty good rhythm early, and he pays it off right there to the big tight end in the end zone. And then the second quarter was about Armstrong. A couple of really good runs. He takes this one into the end zone. That was all after the play was dead. And then throw it up to your playmaker, and he goes up and gets it, does more on that play. And all of those things are when Nebraska's at their best, when number 4 is making good decisions, but he's reactive as well.
So Wisconsin from the 25, and we saw a lot of passing on first down from Wisconsin. Stave looking for Erickson, and it's incomplete with good coverage from Josh Kalu as we check in with Olivia Harlan.
Guys, I just talked to Coach Riley, and despite the 7-point lead, he really says they're not playing that well. He wants more consistency on offense. He wants to ramp up the run game and do better screen game. When I asked him about Tommy Armstrong beautifully engineering those 2 touchdown drives, he said that's just Tommy playing. Good stuff, guys.
Yeah, when Tommy plays like that, Mike Riley is a better coach in the state of Nebraska. I know that.
It looked pretty good when your quarterback's playing as well as he did at the end of that first half.
I hear that.
Taiwan Deal questionable to return with an ankle injury, so it's been mostly Ogunbowale and also a little bit of Alec Ingold at running back for Wisconsin. Short pickup, 3rd and long coming up as Ross DeZuris, along with Gingrich, are there on the stop. There's Taiwan Deal. You see the heavy tape job on both legs, but it was an ankle issue that was bothering him very early in this ball game. He went to the sideline, was checked out, has been hopping around, has been stretching out, trying to get back into this game. Part of the reason that this Wisconsin team hasn't been able to rush the ball very effectively.
Yeah, he's the speed cutback guy, and this offense needs that in that power run game.
Another pass play for Scotty on 3rd down and long. To the out route, with pressure coming, Greg McMullen put him on his back, and it forces an errant throw to force 4th down.
The Kalu and Cockrell had the receiver over the top and underneath, and Cockrell was coming underneath. A little bit of pressure, and that helps a lot. But it was about the coverage on the back end that particular time, and kind of bracketed Erickson on the outside.
A 3rd 3 and out in their last 4 possessions, and now Drew Meyer boots it away. Jordan Westerkamp will wave it out. It's going to take an outstanding bounce. Continuing to kick into the wind, which makes it very difficult, and Meyer just could not get much behind it on what ends up being a 21-yard punt. Great way to get you going for Week 5 of the NFL season. First at 10 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. NFL Insiders, Mort, Adam, and the guys will get you going on all the latest injury news. Good for your fantasy team, all that stuff. And then Sunday NFL Countdown. Boomer and the boys get you set to go with the in-depth analysis. It starts at 10 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. And watch ESPN. From midfield, excellent field position for Nebraska. They've had it all day long. And here comes Terrell Newby. Solid run. Runs into Joe Schobert, but a strong 1st down run of 5. This Nebraska offense led by Danny Langsdorff in his first season, a long-time assistant under Mike Riley. And then to the right, one of the bright young defensive minds in college football, Dave Aranda, staying on with Paul Kristaps. These two guys, with all the crossover between the staffs, believe it or not, these two guys go back almost as far as anybody. They started their careers as GAs together in 1996 at Division II Cal Lutheran. And almost 2 decades later, they coach against each other today in a conference game. Newby stretched to the right. And powering through Arthur Goldberg, who finally ripped him down at the ankles.
And Adam, you had it exactly right. It is a stretch play. It's zone blocking up front, but the desire is to get out on the edge, and then Janovich, the fullback, leads around the edge. And Newby is doing a very good job of getting the stretch, being patient, pressing the line of scrimmage, and then finding the softness.
Good run to set up 3rd and 2. Cross checks in. Good short yardage back. Look at pro set here a little bit with Janovich and Cross. Janovich the lead blocker, and Cross bangs through Tanner McEvoy to the 36-yard line and a 1st down.
I think the fans love to see number 32 carrying the ball. Very good cutback, avoids the initial penetration, but at 6'1", 230, it's like a fullback. He's actually about the same size as Janovich is.
Had to replace Rex Burkhead when he was a freshman. After Burkhead got hurt, he's got a little Burkhead to him. 1st down pass, Armstrong taking a shot, wants it all. Leaping attempt by Riley, incomplete. With Tanner McEvoy in coverage, he wanted the penalty marker, and he will not get it here. Tyndall and McEvoy both over the top trying to guard the 6'1" Riley. And now Mike Riley did not like the calls. He yells at Scott McElwee, the side judge.
And this ball hung in the air a little bit, and there was actually a grab by Tyndall a little bit earlier than what we saw on the screen, and Riley thought he was held a little bit, but the ball was underthrown just a hair anyway. I think Riley had a beef there. Coach Mike Riley had a beef, and receiver Brandon Riley also had a beef.
What's Mike Conrad? Offense, bench, head coach. 15-yard penalty. 2nd down.
Mike Riley is one of the true nice guys in college football. Very good-hearted, kind guy. But, man, when he gets a sideline penalty, you know that he was upset about a call.
And you know what he was pointing at right there? He was referring to the pass interference down in the end zone by Cockrell. You saw the gesture. He points, and Mike Riley won't let it go. And right now, for his team, he has to demonstrate that he's going to fight for his guys. It's kind of like a manager going out and arguing, you know, in baseball, well, and getting ejected on purpose. And that 15-yard penalty might have actually been somewhat on purpose.
that's what he's hoping for, that it ends up being a positive. Second and a quarter of the field. Armstrong setting up for another deep shot down the sideline. And that one flipped into the air, and now a penalty marker is thrown. Carter against Tyndall, and this time the marker was thrown.
We don't believe in makeup calls, do we?
Yeah.
The skipper just got done arguing and getting a 15-yard penalty, and they throw the same play, and it's
Pass interference. Defense number 25. 15 yards from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
You know, Kelly, you said makeup call, and while that's probably not the proper term, it sounds like it, and that's kind of what the manager hopes for when he yells at the umpire, right?
And it's the 6'4" Carter, the tight end, split out wide on Tyndall, who's 5'11". And the quarterback, Armstrong, just gives your 6'4" guy a chance and let the forward go up and make a rebound.
Yep. So it's a 15-yard penalty, and it sets up 1st and 10 at the 36-yard line, right back where we started a couple of plays ago. We're going to pistol back the I-back movie, and he dives forward to the 32-yard line. I just had to laugh, by the way, too, because that ball got kind of kicked by Derek Tyndall. Hard for Nebraska fans not to think of the flea kicker every time a ball gets kicked into the air like that on that deep play. I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about our buddy Matt Davison, a couple of booths over in the Nebraska radio booth.
Right? That was at Missouri.
That's right.
Our guy, Brent Musburger, was calling that. I can still picture the call in my mind.
Second down at 6 here for Armstrong and the Huskers. Newby trying to cut away from Joe Schobert, the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week's been a little bit quiet so far, but man, he had one heck of a game against Iowa. He's the country's leader in sacks and TFLs. Gets a TFL there.
And that is typically what he does right there, Adam. It's quick recognition resulting in quick penetration, and he blows up the play right here. Coming off the edge, he has good balance after contact. He gets hit around a little bit by the tackle, but he ends up getting to the tackle that particular time. We need to hear from that guy here in the second half if Wisconsin is going to get back in this thing.
3rd down and 9. Huskers are 6 of 10 on 3rd down. Usually they've been about 3rd and medium. This is 3rd and long. 4-man rush. Here comes Schobert, pressuring Armstrong into a very difficult throw. Back-to-back big plays by the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week, the senior out of Waukesha.
The strength of Wisconsin is their outside linebacker position, and Schobert is just going to come off the edge right here. And this is what they do, is they design things. He's the second guy out, actually. I had one guy too far inside, but the outside linebackers are the strength of Wisconsin's defense, and they're getting Schobert loose right here.
Schobert and Beagle, both outside backers, were coming in. So a 52-yard try coming here for Drew Brown. This would be a career-long make. Kicking with the wind, trying to curve it in, and it is no good wide to the right. The wind continues to be a factor, just could not hook that in. Working off the right upright. A 52-yard try, an extended drive for the Huskers. No points, still a 7-point Nebraska lead. Good stand by the Wisconsin defense, which had only allowed 13 points in the 4 games since Wisconsin put up 35. They've allowed 14 points today. But Dave Aranda, one of the bright defensive minds, 3rd-year defensive coordinator, sees his defense come up with a stand, and now Joel Stabby and the Wisconsin offense, trailing by 7, go back to work from the 35-yard line after the missed field goal by Drew Brown. Jumbo set here for Wisconsin, a running formation, and they will run it with Reggie Love. We'll pick up about a yard as we check in with Cassidy Hubbard from the studio.
All right, Adam, here's our weekly reminder just how good Leonard Fournette is. He breaks free for the 87-yard touchdown, which puts him over 1,000 yards rushing in just 4.5 games. 24-10, LSU in 3rd.
Cassidy, he's averaging 8.5 per carry on the season. Are you kidding me? Over 1,000 yards already.
He's a grown man that also can run really fast. You know, he has a ton of big plays.
Fake the sweep to Love. Setting up the screen, and a dangerous pass Ogunbowale could not hold on to it. Weber was there in coverage, and it's 3rd down and 9. As we take a look at our college football rankings, they are brought to you by Goodyear, and Clemson and Georgia Tech in action today as well. The lead for the Clemson Tigers, LSU in control too.
Now the Baylor is scoring like 10,000 points a game, so they're going to be in the middle, whether they play any defense or not. And Utah will be tested tonight with Jared Goff and that offense.
Huskers show blitz and bring 5. Stavi, timing route, and it is caught for a 1st down with a penalty marker thrown. Jazz Peavy with another good timing route. We'll have to check the marker, but it's been Peavy on those outside timing routes who's made good catches today.
And Peavy created some separation once again, I think, by pushing off just a little bit on that timing route. But from quarterback to receiver, the timing has been incredible.
And you mentioned the flag, a little push off. Maybe it's offensive pass interference.
There are 2 fouls on the play. Holding, defense number 10. Pass interference, offense number 11. Those fouls offset. Repeat 3rd down.
PV and Kalu battling for position on that play, so it'll stay 3rd down.
Yeah, Kalu held pretty decent coverage, but he held, I think, the lack of confidence when the receiver's coming out. And actually, the hold wasn't right there, but then Peavy, the push off to create separation. Most of the time you can get away with it. The official was looking on that play.
Let's do it again. 3rd and 9. Huskers again show pressure. 5-man rush. Stavi. And it is incomplete. Looking for Fumagalli. And at the very last moment, it was Marcus Newby, who's been very good in coverage today, breaking it up.
Marcus Newby, outside linebacker, matched up on Fumagalli, the tight end, 6'6", 250. We've seen this matchup quite a bit in the 1st half. And this actually should have been caught. Newby gets his hand in late, but that ball is on him. But that's what you do. Even when the ball is in the neighborhood, rake the hands, and Newby did a good job right at the end of that play.
So another 3 and out, and another Drew Meyer punt into the wind, and it's just dead. Getting caught in that jet stream, and another big bounce with a penalty marker thrown. A flag which we certainly have to check, but that ball went out of bounds at the 48 in Wisconsin territory. It would be a 13-yard net punt. If you want to know how the wind has affected us today, that is how it has affected this game.
Well, if Drew Meyer, the punter for Wisconsin, has like a stinger shot, he needs to break it out right now.
It's got to be line drives or nothing else.
And I think Foltz for Nebraska discovered that in the 1st half.
Holding. 16 on the receiving team. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick. 1st down. Timeout.
Still going to end up being pretty good field position coming up for the Huskers here, despite that penalty flag against Antonio Reed. University of Nebraska, established 1869. Good game going today here. Since 1970, 5 national titles for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. That is the 2nd most in college football during that stretch, behind the Alabama Crimson Tide. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan. Beautiful day in Lincoln, Nebraska, and good field position despite a penalty at the 42-yard line for the Nebraska offense. A 1st down pass from Armstrong. Some contact on the outside with Riley and Tyndall. There is no marker on the play as we check in with Olivia Harlan.
Guys, Nebraska right tackle Nick Gates will not return. It's a left ankle injury. Now, the redshirt freshman has started every game so far this season. His backup is senior Zach Stirrup, who has battled knee injuries all season. Yeah,
last 12 months have been some rehab for Stirrup. He has made 10 starts in his career, so he has played a decent amount. He knows the system, or has known the system in the past. Stepping into the new offense and stepping into the field now with the Gates injury. Armstrong fakes one way, goes back the other way. Here's Stephen Carter breaking a tackle and finally whipped down for a 1st down. Tackle made by Chikwe Obashi after an 11-yard pickup. This has been a Nebraska team, especially on defense, but overall that has been just ravaged by injury this season. What was the line that the defensive coordinator Mark Banker gave us? I'm not coaching players, I'm coaching jersey numbers.
Yeah, just jersey numbers at this point in time.
1st down 10 from Wisconsin territory, and Newby diving ahead. Maybe 2 on the play running into Edwards.
You know, that last screen to Carter, it was a delay kind of over the middle. And that's the advantage of throwing a screen to a big body tight end. Chris Orr, the linebacker, came up to make a stop, but it's not a running back you're tackling on the screen or a wide receiver on a bubble. It's a big 6'4", 240-pounder in Carter.
2nd down and 8. Tommy Armstrong, a rushing touchdown and a touchdown pass to tie Tommy Frazier for 4th most all time. There is Newby, hit from behind by Darius Hillary, the cornerback. And another short gain to set up 3rd and medium.
Once again, we see all of that pre-snap misdirection, and it's all designed to take the eyes of the defenders to the wrong place, and they go from being on their toes where you have to play defense to second-guessing themselves and sliding to their heels a little bit and being a little less reactive.
3rd and 6. This is what they've been used to, 3rd and medium today. Pressure being shown by the Badgers, who bring 5. Here comes Schobert. Armstrong steps aside. Armstrong throwing downfield, one-on-one. And a great play by Tanner McAvoy leaping up top against the freshman Stanley Morgan.
Well, we've seen Wisconsin's MO in the second half is to get Schobert off early. You can see right there a tremendous avoidance by Armstrong, and then the throw right there is McAvoy at 6'6", going up and swatting it away. Decent release outside, stumbled a little bit, did Morgan, and really well defended by McAvoy at the end of the day. 6'6", 230-pound free safety.
Foltz will punt with the wind. How does he make an adjustment here? A little bit of backspin to cut through some of that wind, and excellent coverage by the Huskers, as good as they're going to get with the difficulty of the wind, as Alonzo Moore, who's got a touchdown in that end zone, stops a Foltz punt after 42 yards. There was Moore making sure that ball got as deep as possible, downing it right at the 1-yard line. It's 99 yards in front of the Badger offense.
And Sam Foltz hit the kind of the backup spin wedge in right there, and a tremendous special teams play. And Nebraska defense has a chance to respond and flip the field on Wisconsin right here.
Sneak. Stavi looking for cushion. He'll get about 2 yards to the 3. Joel Stavi, redshirt senior out of Greenfield, Wisconsin, slow to get up here.
Yeah, he doesn't look good laying on the ground right there. A lot of times those 300-pounders come in with body parts of flail on knees and elbows, and Stavi might have gotten one right to the nugget right there. Newby from his linebacker position came flying in there and may have gotten the quarterback in the head.
Stavi moving a little bit gingerly outside his end zone. There's Ingold. Breaks through one tackle, and Ingold will power forward for some more cushion. We'll get to the 7. It'll be 3rd down and 4. See how Stavi looks as we move forward in this game. Quist, first season as the head coach of Wisconsin, going up against one of his best friends, Mike Riley, in his first season as the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Chris is the play caller, and he has a 5th-year senior at him. You have to trust Stavi to make a good decision in the pass game right here.
Deep drop, deep route developing, taking a shot on the outside, and Robert Wheelwright twisting around, cannot haul it in inbounds against Jonathan Rose in coverage.
The same type of pass concept that we've seen multiple times. That was kind of a fade route and then underthrow it and hope that Wheelwright at 6'3" can come back and get it.
Oh, that left foot.
Wow, that left foot looked pretty darn good to me. I think this is being looked at as we speak, but this might be worth stopping play and taking a longer look at it.
And there's the whistle. Tom Kissinger is our replay official, and I think he got the same look that we did.
The ruling on the previous play was an incomplete pass at the sideline. That ruling is under further review.
We'll take a look at it when you come back. 5:49 to play, a crucial 3rd down pass play under review. Robert Wheelwright has a catch. It was reviewed by Tom Kissinger. The call was given to us by John O'Neill. He had possession of the ball. The left foot was down, and he completed the process of the catch, going out of bounds with possession and the foot. There's the left foot inbounds. Then the right foot hits after he had claimed possession of the football. It's the best offensive play of the day for Wisconsin. 30 yards on third down deep in their own territory.
And it is those three things you talked about. Possession, you have to have a foot in bounds, or you have to have possession in bounds, and then completing the catch through a football play, which going to the ground is, and Will Wright did all of it on that play.
So it sets him up at the 37-yard line when they needed cushion at a third down. They got both the conversion and the big play. Here's Ingold. And he gets wrapped up very quickly from the backside by Chris Webber. Young was in on it. Collins was in on it. But that walk-on middle linebacker, Webber, was the first one in on it.
Instinctive. Number 49. Chris Webber is very instinctive, and he has to communicate at that middle linebacker position. He has to receive the signal from the sideline. Then he has to echo the play. He's going out of bounds right now, going off the sideline, number 49. And then he has to set the front. That's a heavy load for a walk-on that's playing a bunch right now.
They're going to nickel here. They brought Chris Jones in. Kalu goes to the nickel, and Jones plays outside. Stabby attacking, and it is caught underneath by Fumagalli, and he's tackled about a yard shy of the line of the game by Nate Gary. But it's a much more manageable 3rd and 1 here, close to midfield.
And Fumagalli has been the matchup that Wisconsin has liked in the pass game. It's the big tight end. He's coming off the edge. He's usually matched up on a linebacker or a nickel corner, which translates into your 5th best corner usually. And Fumagalli has had his share fair of good things that happen inside.
4 catches on the season coming in. He's got 3 today. High formation, big package. It's going to be a pass. One-on-one slant. Looking for Love, and Jonathan Rose with another big play. This has been a struggling secondary, but Rose has come up with some big plays today. Now it's 4th and 1.
And this, I think, is all on Stave. Look at the coverage right here. The slant inside, and Rose breaks on it. The throw wasn't a very good throw. It was intended to Reggie Love. But that's the confidence that the defensive coordinator, Mark Banker, wants to see on the back end from the secondary.
Meyer kicking into the wind has averaged 21 per punt today. Get a 13-yarder a moment ago, and this one slices through that air with the wind dying down a little bit, certainly. And that is about as good of a punt as you can have. Hillary is there to down it at the 1-yard line, a 53-yard punt. So both Foltz and Meyer, after struggling against the wind, both come up with good punts in this quarter. Remember last year? In this matchup, Melvin Gordon put together one of the greatest performances in college football history against Bo Pelini and John Papuchis' defense. 408 yards on the ground through 3 quarters, mind you. It was the FBS record until a week later when Samaje Perine ran for 427. But Melvin Gordon put together a dynamic rushing performance last year against this Nebraska defense. Today, the Badgers have 56 yards on the ground. And now the defense trying to pin its ears back as Armstrong starts this drive from the 1. And to give to Amani Cross that short yardage back with good cushion, 5 yards on the run. We bring up Melvin Gordon for good reason. You're going to see him in action on Monday Night Football. Steelers and Chargers getting set to go. Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's at 6 o'clock Eastern Time. Monday Night Football at 8:15 Eastern. We'll see another Big Ten back. Le'Veon Bell, Michigan State back, now playing for the Steelers.
Do that Monday Night Football thing again.
I really don't want to.
Come on, one more time.
Monday Night Football. I feel like that. I feel like Boomer. I hope Boomer is happy with that one just for him. We threw that in there for him. Armstrong, second down, back shoulder, and it is incomplete. Looking for Sethan Carter, who's been a big-time targeted tight end today. And Michael Caputo, the safety, was matched up with him. He made the play on it, 3rd and 5.
Yeah, good decision, bad throw. That ball was inside, and this is where you see the footwork show up. Footwork, bad footwork on the quarterback shows up as inaccuracy on the other end of that pass. That ball was inside. Watch how Armstrong falls away from the throw. Instead of stepping at it, he's stepping into the bucket. That means about a foot down the road, and that ball was off ball placement by about a foot. It made a huge difference.
That's the 3rd or 4th time you've seen that. He's probably done that a little bit more than just that. Batted down at the line of scrimmage, and it is incomplete. Alec James, the red redshirt sophomore from Brookfield, Wisconsin, just putting the paws up and knocking it down in Armstrong's face.
Alec James from his defensive end position. I believe he's going to come right there. And it's 2 down linemen. It's the outside linebackers, the edge rushers. And James does a nice job. He's not getting penetration. He's there to hold the fort and not let the quarterback Armstrong get out of there. Get your hands up, and he did a great job.
Fultz with the win under his crossbar. Can he boom one? Very good bounce. Cut off by Erickson at the 37-yard line. Here goes Erickson with a penalty marker thrown. This one's probably coming down as Erickson steps out at the 40-yard line. And now more flags fly at the end of the play.
Fultz didn't have a very good punt, but Nebraska may get great field position anyway. The first hold out on the point is going to be Alonzo Moore, I believe, the wide receiver. And there was some extracurricular after the play, and so that might be tacked on as well.
Ended up being a 57-yard punt. Not a great kick, but the bounce helped out Fultz there.
I expected him to hit one of those missile shots, and that thing might have gone right through the end zone.
Well, Fultz hit a 70-yarder against Wisconsin last year.
During the play. They're blocking the back. Or holding. Return team number 82. That penalty being enforced 10 yards from the spot of the foul. Once that foul is enforced, there was a dead ball, late hit out of bounds, kicking team number 16. That will be enforced from the end of that enforcement. First down.
Boy, Antonio Reed for Nebraska is probably at fault here. That's 16 in red who got tagged with that last penalty. Watch for 16 in red coming in hot with Erickson out and an obvious late hit there. It's not a hard hit, but it's after the play is over, after he stepped out of bounds.
Wisconsin's bench was rightfully selling it right there, and Reed just has to pull up. Do all you can to avoid. Erickson is a step out of bounds already, and that was a good call.
So the penalty against Wisconsin doesn't hurt him that much. It's still decent field position at the 45 for Stabby and the Badgers, who have put up just 7 points today on a Stabby touchdown pass in the first half. Another deep drop. Deep routes downfield. Stabby whips one down the middle of the field, and it's incomplete. 2 receivers both in the area in Fumagalli and Erickson kind of converging in on it.
I don't believe there's a pass concept where you have 2 receivers standing essentially on top of one another. Fumagalli, the tight end, arrives down the field to the post at the same time 86 Alex Erickson does, and that was not designed very well.
Wisconsin, 5 of their last 7 possessions have been a 3-and-out. They continue to struggle going against the wind. Stabby throwing in this direction is 2 for his last 11. 4-man rush. This time a good line drive throw for a first down to Fumagalli. His 4th catch to tie his season total today. He's got a dozen and a first down.
Adam, you mentioned earlier that tight end Austin Traylor is out, and he's typically a really good receiving tight end. Fumagalli is more the blocker at 250, but he's having himself a great day today. Only 4 catches coming into this one.
And this is a Wisconsin team that likes to throw to tight ends. Sam Arneson had 4 touchdowns last year. Traylor had 3 in the early going this season before the injury. First down and 10 off the fake. Stabby. He's got it in his fullback's hands. That's Eric Steffes, who's also moonlighting as the backup tight end. He takes it inside the 30-yard line. Well-designed play, and he picks up 15.
It was zone stretch to the left, and really good ball handling by Stabby that time. Watch it right here. Where's the football on that zone? He comes back, makes a nice throw, keeps it on the body of the big tight end slash fullback, and off a run game that really has not been that productive as of yet. But it was good play action off of it.
Just 56 rushing yards today for Wisconsin. Back to the ground. Logan Mulally with a Fumagalli block and a spin and a 2-yard gain. Hit by Weber out of the middle linebacker spot. Last year, Nebraska gave up 539 rush yards, but Mark Baker, the first-year defensive coordinator, knows Paul Chris offense very well. More of that crossover between all the coaches. When Banker was at Oregon State in 2012 and Wisconsin went to Corvallis, his defense held Brett Bielema's offense to 35 rushing yards on 23 carries. Second down 8. Underneath, looking for Fumagalli, incomplete. Third down coming up, down to Olivia.
Guys, you see freshman running back Alec Ingold getting significant snaps. He was a high school quarterback out of Green Bay, was a linebacker at fall camp. 3 weeks ago, became an emergency running back. And guys, it's an emergency. Taiwan Deal still not on the field. He's walking up and down, favoring that ankle. Doesn't look to be going in anytime soon.
Yeah, you saw him hopping around a little bit, Olivia, and it doesn't look like he's going to get back into this game. So the converted linebacker and former high school quarterback, part of this lacking rushing attack right now. 3rd and 8, passing situation. 4-man rush. Stowey climbing in the pocket, throwing incomplete. Nearly picked off by Marcus Newby on Fumagalli, and Newby continues to be one of the best pass coverage guys on this Nebraska defense today.
Very impressive by Newby on coverage, but we'll see the coverage first right here on the tight end, and a little bit of a hole out of the break, but you typically get away with it. But how about Valentine right here? How would you like to be on the other end of that? 320 pounds. Valentine has played well here in the second half.
45 yards into the wind for Rafael Gaglianone. The short run up, trying to keep it straight and power it through, and he's got it. Missed from 43, but this time from 45 yards, he's able to bang it through to get Wisconsin points for the first time in the second half.
Gaglianone drove this thing. I mean, this was good for another 10 yards or so. He caught that flush and drove it right through the middle.
The Brazilian-born Gaglianone went to high school in Tennessee. More coming up tonight. Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo on ABC. 5 straight wins for the Noles in this series. How about Everett Golson? Remember, this guy had struggle after struggle last year handling the football. 22 turnovers his last full season. This year has really cut down on the turnovers. We'll see that matchup tonight against that Miami defense on ABC Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo.
Jimbo Fisher has done a pretty nice job with Golson at quarterback. Just teaching him it's about the value of the football. They named the game after the thing that you possess all the time, right, Adam? You have to keep care of that thing, and Golson has done a very good job so far this year.
I don't think I've ever heard it spoken so eloquently. It's named after the thing that you hold on to.
Exactly.
Minute to play, third quarter. Endicott. Sidewinding kick towards the sideline. Good field position coming up here.
Free kick out of bounds by the kicking team.
So, Husker ball up for minute 6 for the third, and we take a look at today's Good Hands Play. It is brought to you by Allstate. Earlier today, that ball that was reviewed, this was a really nice catch. Talk about good hands for a lot of the receivers on both sides, showing it off wheelwright that time. That was good for 30.
Yeah, he gets a foot down, maintains it, possession all the way to the ground, and that was huge. It got him out from underneath the shadows of the goalpost.
89,886 announced attendance today at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln. Husker ball. Terrell Newby's got it. And a short run for about a half-yard running into T.J. Watt. The Watt name lives on here at Wisconsin.
T.J. Watt was pursuing from the outside that time, and they're going to have to keep those outside linebackers honest. A little kind of play-action boot, get Armstrong outside the pocket once again.
T.J. Watt and Derek Watt, both younger brothers of J.J., the outstanding defensive players in the NFL from the Wisconsin Badgers. Armstrong designed it. This is a run for him. Fakes the run and runs it to the 41-yard line. 5 yards there, third down and 4. They don't have to run another play, but we'll see what they do at the end of this third quarter. So in the fourth quarter, Nebraska will go into the wind. Now, the wind has died down a little bit. We've talked about how big of an effect that has played today. But Nebraska for the fourth will go into the wind. Wisconsin will go with the wind. And it looks like the Huskers are in no rush with a 4-point lead. Speaking of rush, Wisconsin, 58 yards on the ground. That's it against this Nebraska defense today after 5:39 a season ago. Second year they're meeting for the Freedom Trophy, 10th meeting all time. There have been some blowouts in this series. This is a close one. Football continues after this word from our ABC stations. Crucial game in the suddenly very competitive-looking Big Ten West. Wisconsin and Nebraska both coming off losses in their Big Ten openers. A 14-10 lead for Nebraska as we start the fourth. Third down for Tommy Armstrong. On his back foot into double coverage, and it was nearly picked and probably should have been by Darius Hillary. Armstrong on the ground again with pressure coming this time from Wisconsin. 4th and 4.
Exactly why this ball should have been sailed over the Wisconsin bench. This is dead from the beginning. T.J. Watt gets after the quarterback. That ball just simply cannot be thrown into harm's way. This is a bad decision. On this play, the mechanics really don't matter. It's all about the mechanics between your ears, and that was not a good decision by number 4 right there.
So Fultz, a punt into the wind with Erickson back to return. Good booming kick towards the sideline. It forces another punt inside the 20-yard line to the 16. A good 43-yard kick by Fultz there. Well, let's take a look at the bright side. It is brought to you by CarMax, and all the numbers aren't necessarily that good, but the reason that these teams have even put up points is from some good drives engineered by Stavi and Armstrong.
Yeah, kind of moments of really good stuff, and then both of them have thrown the ball into places they shouldn't, and then the 34 yards rushing by Armstrong has been big, and he's extended a few plays as well. His passing touchdown came on a play that he extended.
24 wins in Joel Stavi's career, 4th most among active quarterbacks. Goes to work at his own 16-yard line with the Badgers down 4. And Olivia talked about Alec Ingold, the former high school quarterback, turned linebacker, turned running back in emergency situations. That's been part of the Wisconsin team, too. They've had to switch around some guys from offense to defense and vice versa. And Ingold, with the Taiwan Deal ankle injury, has been the number 2 back behind Ogun Bawale today.
And Ingold is 237 pounds, so he's more of a fullback type guy. You have to prevent him from going downhill. Spill it to the edges if you're Nebraska.
That run was for 6 after they ran for 2 total in the 3rd quarter. Here's Wheeler. Good blocking along the perimeter, and he's got the first down. Erickson trying to seal the edge for him, and he gets ripped down across the 30 at the 32 by Cockrell and Young. Stavi, 3rd all-time in Wisconsin history in yards and touchdowns. Only one time has Joel Stavi ever thrown for 300 yards in a game. That was against Penn State a couple of years back. He's thrown for 200 on the nose today. Off play action. Looking downfield. Into Nebraska territory. The catch by Alex Erickson. Another big play to their top receiver. Down to the 44-yard line.
Off the play action pass, and Erickson runs what they call a deep over route, and then Stavi does a nice job of driving the throw in there.
24 yards on that play. Half the targets have been caught. 77 on the day for Alex Erickson. 1st and 10 in Husker territory. Ingold running right into Marcus Newby, who's had a very good day defensively. That's a tackle for loss back to the 45-yard line.
And Ingold took the worst of that hit. Newby did a nice job of closing the back door. There was a decent holding of the fort up inside as we see a Nebraska player go down as well. But Ingold tried to bounce that, and Newby was right there.
And it is Newby on the deck, Cal.
That was a massive collision because Ingold came off as well, and he's 240 pounds, and then Newby checks in at about 235. It was a zone play up front, and then Ingold tried bouncing it, and that's a head-to-head contact. Both of them look like they staggered on that play.
Marcus Newby, who has taken a big role as a redshirt sophomore this year. Michael Rose-Ivy is out with a groin injury. He's expected to be out at least a couple more weeks. David Santos opted not to return because he was limited by injury. He was an outside linebacker, so Newby has stepped into that role, especially these last couple of weeks with Rose-Ivy out. And he seems to be limping off the field.
Yeah,
he's off, so is Ingle.
Seems like a lower leg with Newby. And remember the things you talked about in coverage. He's been tremendous in coverage. 4 pass breakups, and now he's limping a little bit. That could be big down the stretch here.
2nd and 11. Luke Gifford checks in for Newby. Stabby taking a shot. Erickson separating, and it is knocked away by Kalu. Biggest play that he's made all day long as Erickson was starting to create some separation, and now Kalu a little bit ginger going back towards the huddle.
A nice job by Kalu. Even though he's in the trail technique, the receiver will tell you when the ball's in the area. His eyes light up, his hands go in position, and Kalu sees the hands go up by Erickson. Then he goes up and makes a play. There's been few and far of that between the 5 games that Nebraska has played, but they've been better today. You can see the numbers right there. Right now we're holding up pretty well.
The 40th pass of the day for Joel Stabby. He steps into it, and it is incomplete with a penalty marker thrown. Jazz Peavy coming across the middle, and now Kalu, who just made a big play, is pleading his case to the elite official John O'Neill.
Pass interference, defense number 10. Ball be placed at the spot of the foul. Automatic first down.
And the most penalized team in the country has its 8th accepted penalty against him for now 79 yards. And on 3rd and 11, Kalu gives Wisconsin a fresh set of downs.
And we've seen Kalu in a lot of it, and you can see the receiver coming in right there is Peavy. And Kalu just collisions the receiver and impedes his progress to the football when the ball's in the air. That's textbook pass interference.
First down from the 30. The fake to Ingold. And underneath, setting it up for Fumagalli. A little bit off target on the throw with pressure coming on Joel Stabby. 2nd down. So over 40 passes today for Joel Stabby. And this is not an offense the last couple of years that has rested on Stabby's arm. He's been asked to do enough because you had some big-time backs. And don't forget, Corey Clement is still injured. He was the guy to replace Melvin Gordon. He was running very well, but he's out right now with that sports hernia surgery. Stabby being asked to do much more today. Now we'll give to Ogun Balale, and a big hole opens up for Dare as he takes it to the 15-yard line. One of his best runs of the day, the redshirt junior, for a first down.
This is the wrap play, number 62, Walker Williams is going to wrap around right there and lead the running back up inside, and that was one of the better run plays we've seen in a long while.
The best of the day, 15 yards for Wisconsin today. First down and 10. The penalty keeping this drive alive. And Ogun Balale with a shift to the outside. Then shakes past the defender and takes it inside the 10. Gifford, the substitution for Newby there on the stop at around the 7-yard line.
And Ogun Balale is doing a very nice job right now, is just kind of going out of the design of the play a little bit. There's a little extension of the play. He's the one that has a tendency to go off grid, if you will, and that power is meant to go up inside, and that time he bounced it, and probably rightfully so.
Back to Ogun Balale, and he's ripped down by Malik Collins. The penetration they've been looking for, and a big play on 2nd and short to force 3rd down.
Is the penetration guy, and this is exactly how you have to blow up the run game. Quick penetration right at the epicenter of the play, and if you want that, Collins is your guy.
Third down and 5. Four-man rush. Stavy to the sideline. Peavy can get a first down. He's got that. And he's down inside the 1-yard line. Another third down conversion, and Jazz Peavy has been a big factor today. It'll be 1st and goal with a chance to take the lead.
And number 14, Jonathan Rose, you can see him coming in late to the picture, makes a poor attempt at a tackle, but he's way too soft to begin with that deep in the red zone. Peavy had too much room to operate.
And now Alec Ingold is the deep back in the jumbo package without a touchdown in his young career. Here comes the freshman from Green Bay with his first career touchdown. And the first lead of the second half belongs to the Badgers here.
On the carry for the Badgers touchdown.
Hey! Way to be Joe! Way to be there! Way to be Danny!
The Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Wisconsin, shifting positions a bunch. Former linebacker at Wisconsin this year, earlier in camp, sliding over to running back with some of the injuries, including Clement. And now Taiwan Deal today as well. Scores the touchdown to give Wisconsin the lead for the first time in half number 2. Gaglianone adds the extra point, and it's 10 unanswered for the Badgers since halftime.
Put 2 fullbacks in there and then have a 240-pound Ingold take it up in the end zone. You can't get heavier than that, Adam.
Let's have a house party we don't need.
For the first time in the second half, Wisconsin has taken the lead with 10 unanswered points. A 17-14 Badger advantage. Both teams 0-1 in Big Ten play, trying to avoid the 0-2 start. First career rushing touchdown for Alec Ingold, the true freshman out of Green Bay. Endicott kicking with the wind. And 5 yards deep. Touchback taken by the former Wisconsin Badger commit, never a student, Jordan Stevenson. Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. It was a 14-7 Nebraska lead at the halftime. They scored 2 touchdowns in a very short spurt at the end of the second quarter to take the lead into the half. Stavy's thrown 41 times. Armstrong in this game has thrown 24 times. Erickson, who was questionable most of the week, 6 catches today, the top target for the Badgers.
And Adam, Nebraska's going into the wind, and Armstrong has not been good throwing into the wind. 1 of 7 today, and was horrendous last week at Illinois into the wind as well.
Yeah, bad conditions, the wind in Illinois, and now the wind this week that Armstrong is used to, but he's going into it. Jet sweep, Alonzo Moore, and a big play that knocked the ball loose. Tanner McAvoy diving at the ankles, but will Moore be ruled
Ruling
down?
on the field was the runner was down before the ball came out. Second down.
A good play nonetheless by McAvoy as we check into the studio with Cassidy.
All right, Adam. Charlie Strong got a big win today. Could Butch Jones do the same against number 19 Georgia? Josh Dobbs to Alvin Kamara. 31-24, Vols 28 unanswered for Tennessee.
Man, Tennessee's been on the wrong end of some comebacks this year, but Tennessee making the comeback today against a Nick Chubb-less Georgia. Short run, and it'll be 3rd down and long coming up here. Wisconsin's defense starting to stiffen.
Yeah, the offensive line didn't get much of a push those last couple of plays, and Tommy Armstrong has to come up with a play right here. This is where he has to be at his best, and we'll most likely see Armstrong get outside the pocket right here.
See if he cuts the field in half. He's got 2 receivers to the wide side, bottom of the formation. Going to stay in the pocket and rip one, and it's broken up by Darius Hillary. Fans wanted a flag as it was intended for Western Camp, but Hillary with the break on the ball on the pass breakup to set up 4th down.
Yeah, apparently this must have been a perfect break by Hillary, because this ball was on time and on target, and Western Camp just went down in 1st down depth. Sit down, show your number 1 to the quarterback, and Hillary, it seemed like to me, arrived just a little bit too early, especially with that left arm.
That arm around the shoulder pad. Yep. It looked like a Westerkamp. That could have been called a pass interference. So now Fultz into the wind. Gets very high, and that's not where you want to put it. It's going to be very good field position as Erickson stumbles out at the 35-yard line. Badger ball, 8:43 to go. Big Ten West game here. Wisconsin's got this on campus. It's the Outdoor Adventure Center. You get the rock climbing wall. You got a bike shop in there as well. Step up the rest of your game in terms of the wall climb, Big Ten. Good stuff here in Nebraska. Memorial Stadium, the site in Lincoln. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan. First down and 10 for the Badgers, trying to burn some clock. Going to Ogunbowale, who's got a big hole. And there goes Dolly Ogunbowale. Ripped down inside the 35-yard line at the 32. Deep in Nebraska territory, it's a 32-yard run for Ogunbowale.
Derek Watt, the fullback, kicks out, and then the big center Volts also gets around there as well. That's all about power football right there. We talked about Wisconsin's run game paying off in the fourth quarter late with that power football.
That looks like Jack Gangwish up front for the Nebraska defense. He's been dealing with an elbow injury. He just returned last week against Illinois in a very limited capacity. He was set to go with the injury to Freedom Akinmaladun as well. Stepping back into a starting defensive end role, and he is down on the deck. And he's kind of pointing towards that arm, that injured left elbow. You hope that it's not a re-aggravation of that injury. But he seems to be favoring that left arm.
That does not look good. He's had a really, really nice game here this afternoon, and they needed one for number 95.
So Gangwish to the sideline. Coming in late. So first down and 10 at the 32-yard line. Back to Ogunbowale. And finally brought down after maybe a yard or so. Vincent Valentine is there on the stop. So they just lost Jack Gangwish. But the Nebraska defense did just get Marcus Newby back into the game. So second down and 9 coming up here. Halfway through the fourth. Ogunbowale with a kick-out block from the center, Dan Volts. And Ogunbowale running it to the 26-yard line. More on Newby with Olivia Harlan.
Yeah, Adam, he was slow to get up on Nebraska's last defensive drive. When he came to the sideline, trainers laid him out and massaged his right calf and gave him a lot of water. He quickly took a seat and continued massaging his right calf. So he is back in, but we'll keep an eye on him if he favors that left leg.
Yeah, unseasonably warm today here in Lincoln for October. There's Gangwish back on the field as well. Big third down and 4 for the Nebraska defense. Ogunbowale wrapped up by Chris Webber. Finished off by Gary, but the middle linebacker, the walk-on right there, making the stop. And now it's fourth down. Wisconsin a 3-point lead inside the 25, going with the wind. And now another injury for Nebraska, which has been a major theme for them. It's Byerson Cockrell, the safety. This has been a tough day of attrition for Nebraska. They're happy to get Newby back because he's had a really good game on defense in coverage and on the rush.
Yeah, his coverage has been impressive. He's been matched up on tight ends and running backs, and he's been right with them most of the time. This is just a few of the plays right there. Was almost an interception. Defended the run well also, and Wisconsin was trying to bow up on him on that drive in particular to try to run some clock, and I think they're going to go for the field goal right here. I agree with the decision because Nebraska hasn't exactly executed well going into the wind here this afternoon.
Gaglianone missed from 43 in this direction with the wind back in the first half. He's been good against the wind from 45. This one a 41-yard try. keeping it a little bit lower this time, and he's able to cut through with the field goal to make it a 6-point lead. Nebraska gets the ball down 6:17 left. Big Ten scoreboard from today. Ohio State a big second half to explode away from Maryland. Penn State was in control most of the day. Iowa now 2-0 in Big Ten play. Michigan en route to its 3rd consecutive shutout. Hasn't been done since 1995. Kansas State with 3 straight shutouts. All Minnesota after being shut out last week.
Michigan is impressive. Oof. Man alive, the light has come on there under Harbaugh, and there's a collision happening between Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State down the road.
This month, Michigan State coming up. Stevenson has not been able to do much for the Huskers today, the true freshman out of Dallas. So if we look at our football power index, this is according to our ESPN FPI, the best chance to win the Big Ten coming into action today. Wisconsin 5.5%, Nebraska 1.6. Mind you that Nebraska has a middle of the pack remaining schedule in terms of toughness. Wisconsin, according to the FPI, has the easiest remaining schedule in the Big Ten. Very, very favorable for them.
Yeah, they avoid Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State, correct?
In the crossover games.
In the crossover games.
6:17 to play. It's now or never for Tommy Armstrong in this game. Down by 6. Going against the wind where he has struggled passing the football. Penalty marker is thrown. Ripping it out for Newby. And he's shoved out of bounds by Caputo. We'll check the marker. Looks like maybe an offsides penalty here. At least according to the initial interpretation from John O'Neill. They'll probably take the penalty here and make it a 5-yard gain and first down.
Offside, defense, number 8. 5-yard penalty, repeat first down.
Shelton, the cornerback, was offsides lined up.
Getting a little bit too tight in his press coverage, and Hillary, the corner off the short side, came on a blitz that particular time. They were getting after Tommy Armstrong, and once again he throws off his back foot, but you see the strength of his arm as he threw a laser out there to Newby in the flat.
Looking for Newby again out of the backfield. Incomplete, 2nd down and 5. Again, Armstrong hasn't been the sharpest in terms of his completion percentage. Just 10 of 25 on the day. And as we said, going in this direction against the wind, just 1 of 8. And this is just a half comparison, 1st and 2nd.
And that first half was mostly in the 2nd quarter where he got really hot and played extremely well. Good decisions, good ball placement. We haven't seen a lot of that since.
Alonzo Moore, the big 41-yard touchdown reception at the end of the first half. 2nd down 5. A pump, a setup of that screen, and it's incomplete. Trying to set it up for Demorne Pearson-El. We haven't heard much from him since early in this game. Coming off that foot injury, trying to be more explosive this week.
And that's even on a screen. It's a short pass, and you have Schobert getting in your face, but you have to set your feet and throw an accurate ball. Screens are all about yards after catch. And watch how Armstrong falls away right there. No thought of setting his feet. And I think you had an opportunity to set your feet and throw a strike out to the receiver.
We've seen that be kind of unsharp today from Armstrong, throwing off the back foot. Just a 4-man rush, the twist, forces Armstrong into a tough spot. Lofting it up there, a 50-50 ball is caught for a first down by Stephen Carter. However, a penalty marker thrown in the offensive backfield may negate this.
Yeah, I think this is going to be on Condolo up inside. There was a tackle end stunt, and as the end came back up inside, I think the big guy, Condolo, grabbed him. I think it was actually Beagle, the outside linebacker.
I think so,
that was
too.
coming up inside.
47 on the ground, right?
Holding. Offense, number 70. 10 yards from the previous spot. Repeat 3rd down.
Wisconsin went to a 4-man front where they have 2 down linemen, and then their edge rushers are stand-up outside linebackers, and they run a TE stunt. 47 right there. Beagle comes up inside, and Condolo drags him to the ground, and it nullifies once again Tommy Armstrong throwing off his back foot, but a receiver catching the football.
3rd down and 15, and now the clock moving against Nebraska. 5.5 on a turning clock. How many more possessions do they have if they can't convert 3rd down here? 4-man rush. Good block by Newby, and now it's up to Armstrong to cover a wide ground. Tommy Armstrong to the stick. organizational skills there, and he keeps this drive alive.
His greatest asset, as we've talked about, and the coaches told us yesterday, is this right here. A great freelancer. Let the coverage get deep and then go find the sticks and move the chains. That's an athlete making something happen.
The Badger defense, which has been very stout in the second half, giving up 16 yards there. Newby in the flats. Trying to hustle to the sideline, and Beagle gets him at the ankles and forces him out after about a 5-yard pickup.
And certainly time is not the issue currently. It's about executing quality offensive plays to go down and get this ball in the end zone. 4:50 left, 3 timeouts. That's an eternity, but it has to be efficiently done, led by Tommy Armstrong.
That's why we said that third down conversion was so big, because if they've got to punt it away from deep in their own territory, now the clock is certainly against them.
They may not get it back with Wisconsin's desire to run the football.
Absolutely. Second down 5. Shuffling that time from Newby, and there's Tanner McAvoy with the stop. 4-yard gain. It's going to be about a long 1, short 2 on third down coming up here. And this legitimately could be the final offensive possession, barring a takeaway that Nebraska gets today. They need to convert 3rd and 4th down.
Yeah, this is certainly a 2-play drive right here. They have to convert either on this one or the next one, because you're right, with Wisconsin running the football as they have, they may not possess the ball again.
Janovich lines up as a fullback. Short yardage back, crosses it. They give it to Janovich, and he powers for a first down and more. There goes Andy Janovich. His first career touchdown will tie the game. Of his life. Brown adds the extra point, and Nebraska has come back to take the lead.
If you're at Nebraska, don't forget about the fullback, especially if he's a former walk-on. That guy came up with a huge play.
Those of you who saw number 6 Clemson defeat Georgia Tech 43-24. 344th straight sellout in Lincoln, and the Cornhuskers have a 21-20 lead on the Wisconsin Badgers. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan. Nebraska scored 2 late touchdowns in the first half to take a 14-7 lead. 13 unanswered by Wisconsin until a moment ago. A Nebraska touchdown from Andy Janovich, his first career touchdown to give the Huskers a 1-point lead. Kickoff into the wind is going to be grabbed by one of the up men for Wisconsin. And not much room, and it'll be a long field in front of the Badgers. Derek Strauss, the fullback, had to corral it at the 9-yard line. 3:33 to play, and a moment ago, Janovich had a big play after he did a lot of little plays very well.
But the legend of the fullback that was a former walk-on goes way back here in Lincoln, and there was a lot of blocking early by Andy Janovich, and then they gashed him with a huge play when Nebraska obviously needed it in a big way. But that legacy of that position goes back almost to eternity here in Lincoln.
Joel Stalvey, the veteran quarterback for Wisconsin, trailing by 1, starts this drive at the 9. Off play action, Stalvey firing deep down the middle, and it's incomplete, looking for Fumagalli. Byerson Cockrell in coverage against the Wisconsin tight end, 2nd down and 10.
Fumagalli seems to be the favorite target of Stalvey today, but this was great coverage by the safety Cockrell. The tight end running down the seam, and then Cockrell does a nice job of sinking underneath the route right at the very end and getting his header out.
Crucial game in the suddenly very competitive-looking Big Ten West. Wisconsin and Nebraska both coming off losses in their Big Ten openers under new head coaches Mike Riley for Nebraska, Paul Chryst for Wisconsin. 19 of 42 is Stalvey today. He's got to pass the ball on this drive some more. Four-man Nebraska rush. Stabby pumps and throws for Erickson. And he's got it out across the 40-yard line. Was he in bounds? He was. 31-yard pass play to Alex Erickson. A clutch catch and a first down for Wisconsin.
Completed pass to the sideline. First down, Wisconsin.
Erickson, the inside-out fade route. He's in a slot position. He goes up and gets the football, and Kalu simply doesn't. And that's what Mark Banker talked about. His defensive backs haven't learned how to find the football, and that's a good example of it. Go up and make a play at the high point.
Got the right foot down. First down from the 40. And Dare Ogunbowale trying to cut it back. Is able to shake through one tackle and pick up 5 yards running into Kalu. 3 minutes to play for those of you just joining us after watching Clemson and Georgia Tech.
For an injured player.
43 passes from Joel Stabby today. Tommy Armstrong Jr. responsible for 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground, 1 through the air, both coming in the second quarter to take a 14-7 lead into halftime until the Andy Janovich touchdown on the last series for the Cornhuskers, the longest run of his career. And in his 43rd game, his first career touchdown to tie the game, and Nebraska took the lead on the extra point. Vincent Valentine, who came in with an ankle issue on that left side today, has been trying to power through it, but he's limping off the field now, a crucial defensive tackle for the Cornhuskers.
I had a Nebraska fan stop me on the way down for coffee this morning, Adam, and he said, you know what, we'd be 5-0 if we could have done away with the last 30 seconds of all 3 of those losses. They're hoping they're not reliving it right here.
A BYU Hail Mary in the opener. Overtime loss to Miami. Heartbreak against Illinois last week. Nebraska trying to stand. Wisconsin looking for the lead. Stabby. Timing route. Wheelwright the catch, and he's tackled at the 40-yard line by Nate Gary. Timing routes have been very good for Stabby and his receivers. 16 yards there.
Stabby and his receivers have great timing, and the corners in particular for Nebraska just simply don't break on the football. They allow the receiver to have too much separation. That time it was Jonathan Rose on coverage.
2.5 to play. Still all 3 timeouts on both sides. Blitz coming. Picked up. Stabby for Erickson, and it's broken up at the last moment by Kalu. Second down. This has been one of the leakiest secondaries in the country, but some big plays at crucial moments for the Husker backside.
Yeah, Kalu made a great play. He was initially looking at the route in the flat, and watch him sink right there. Once he sees the throw, and Mark Banker talked about that after your initial read, let the quarterback throw you to your next assignment. That's a perfect example of it.
There's an injured Cornhusker on the play, and for the second time today, it is Marcus Newby who is down on the field. Olivia Harlan reported to us earlier that he was getting his calf massaged on the sideline, perhaps dealing with some cramping issues. It was unseasonably warm today here in Lincoln for an October fall Saturday. So Newby continuing to get some hydration and some stretching on that calf.
And Newby has been tremendous in coverage, Adam. We've talked about him multiple times, and coverage is needed right here because Stabby has something to say on this drive.
Kelly, you talked about the heartbreak for the Cornhuskers. They're 2-3 for the first time since 1959. They lost a season opener for the first time in nearly 3 decades as Tanner Mangum found Mitch Matthews here in Lincoln. Then after a tremendous rally against Miami, Armstrong an overtime pick and the game-winning field goal for the Hurricanes. And then last week, can't convert on 3rd down, can't keep the clock moving, leaving it up time for Illinois to beat them over the top and then get the touchdown with 10 seconds left to win. All 3 losses on the final possession for their opponents so far this season. And there is Mark Banker, the defensive coordinator, a longtime Mike Riley assistant, hoping that his defense can make a stand. Wisconsin on 2nd and 10 from the 39. This time again to Ogunbowale. And he breaks a tackle and runs out of bounds, putting his shoulder into Jonathan Rose for a first down at the 27.
Now we're entering the true 2-minute situation, and Wisconsin has all 3 timeouts left. They would like to use almost all of this clock at this point in time, and that time you saw the power run to the left once again, very productive.
How will Paul Christ manage it? How will Mike Riley manage it as well? Gaglianone, a field goal kicker, is 2 for 3 today. He's got a chance to potentially give him the lead. Ogunbowale looking for a hole, and he got tripped up in the backfield. Dedrick Young was in the backfield, the true freshman linebacker. And now here's some of the clock management as Ogunbowale favors that right arm.
Yeah, good use of the timeout. And remember that there's a pretty stiff breeze at the back of Wisconsin currently. So they're well within field goal range probably right now with that wind blowing.
The wind has been a factor all day long, especially in the kicking game and the punting game. Gaglianone is 2 for 3 today. He's 1 for 2 going with the wind in this direction. His career long is 51, but that was in a dome on a neutral site. His season-long 46 2 times against Iowa last week. Paul Chryst coaching as a head coach against his good friend Mike Riley today. That was one of the big storylines when both Chryst and Riley were hired. They're now Big Ten schools. They have coordinated against each other. Chryst as a coordinator against Riley as a head coach. But for the first time, the longtime friends coaching against each other as head coaches, and it happens to be in a crucial Big Ten West game. Second down, 9, a minute 48 to go. Ogunbowale seeking space. And he works to about the 24. Dedrick Young on the stop, and another timeout used by Nebraska, their second.
And so far, I agree with the clock management. The opposition is already in pretty decent field goal range right here, and so you want to go ahead and use your timeouts to give your offense some opportunity when you get the ball back, regardless of what happens with the field goal.
It's been a wild game, back and forth ball game so far today. 21-20, Nebraska has the lead. 1:42 to play. Adam Amin, Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan as well. Crucial game. One loss doesn't kill your Big Ten season, but with as competitive as the West looks, 2 losses is a really tough hurdle to overcome to try to go to a Big Ten title game.
No doubt. And remember, we came into this game knowing that both of these teams gave away games essentially last week. That hurts big time. And Mike Riley told us this yesterday. My team needs concrete evidence that what we're doing works, and this would be concrete evidence. They need to see something good happen in this situation right here.
Third down, 7. We're going to give to Ogunbowale, who's got a seal along the edge, and Taco was the first man to hit him. Weber finished him off, shy of the line to gain. A minute 32 to play, 4th down coming up. He got to about the 21-yard line. They're well within field goal range here. And Nebraska will use its final timeout as he was tackled inbounds. Last timeout for the Huskers. Wisconsin with a chance to take the lead. Nebraska with a chance to potentially get the ball back. But Gaglianone with a huge kick coming up if indeed they go for the field goal.
And if you lose 3 close contests, the time management always is a factor, right? And I think it was well done right there by Mike Riley. That's a great use of your 3 timeouts. Regardless of what happens on that kick, you have a minute 30 to try to make something happen regardless of what you need.
Clock management an issue last week. 3rd down and 7. Clock was stopped. They wanted to keep it moving instead of running. Armstrong kind of mishandled the play call, which was a run. Ended up passing an incompletion to keep more time on the clock. For the lead, Gaglianone, the Brazilian-born and bred kicker. Trying to hook it back in, and it's no good! No good off the uprights! Heart-wrenching miss for Rafael Gaglianone. And now with Wisconsin trailing by 1 with all 3 timeouts remaining, their defense needs to stiffen, but this was the miss.
Yeah, Mike Riley, as we've said, his team needs something. They need concrete evidence that what we're doing works. Well, I don't know if the goalposts are made of concrete, but that might be it right there for them. But Armstrong needs to make something happen. This one's not done yet.
Minute 26 left. Wisconsin needs stops. They give it to Cross. There's a stop right there by Vince Beagle, and quickly a timeout from Paul Chryst with 1:21 left.
And you're not going to run much of the clock because Wisconsin has 2 more timeouts left. And so eventually, if you don't make something happen with your execution on plays, you're going to have to punt into a pretty stiff breeze. Lot left to happen right here.
No, you talked about it, Kel. Nebraska has dealt with such heartbreak. They're 2-3 for the first time since 1959, before Bob Devaney even began his career. Think about the relief going through Mike Riley's body and mind and soul right now after the heartbreaking losses that his team has dealt with. Now all of a sudden, maybe a little luck bounces the Husker way.
No doubt. Yeah, that reaction was relief. That's exactly what relief looks like in real life.
Now again, 1:22. They put a second back on the clock. Still 2 timeouts for Wisconsin. They need stops and quick stops and quick timeouts. A first down could essentially put the game away. And Wisconsin just getting its 11th defender back on the field. And that was the 11th defender. A stop by Dakota Dixon, who just raced onto the field as the 11th man, ends up with a tackle there. And there's the second timeout with 1:17 to play. Big third down coming up. Let's check in with Cassidy Hubbard in the studio.
All right, Adam, we got an update from Knoxville. Josh Dobbs is having a huge game. 5-yard score here, his second rushing TD. He's thrown for 3, 38-31 balls with 5 to play. And coming up later on ABC, Jimbo Fisher, number 12, Florida State, taking on Miami. 8 Eastern on ABC, and watch ESPN. Adam, Kelly, back to you.
Yeah, Cass, impressive comeback by Tennessee. Still a tight one. Remember, Nick Chubb, the outstanding Georgia running back, injured earlier today. Left knee injury back in the first quarter of that game. 3rd down and 7. Wisconsin needs a stop. A first down could essentially end this game for the Huskers. Janovich, who scored that go-ahead touchdown, gets stopped. And Wisconsin will get the ball back with some time on the clock as Paul Christ uses his final timeout. So 1:14 to play. We said it, Kelly. The wind has been a factor. We knew special teams could be an issue. Gaglianone missing one in the first half, and then moments ago, the miss in that same direction going with the wind.
Yeah, that's the irony, going with the wind. You would have expected it going the other direction. He had a 45-yarder that could have been 55 going into the wind.
But again, the distance was fine. It was just the off-target release that ends up affecting Gaglianone's kick.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And Wisconsin's going to get the ball back in some decent shape, barring some disaster. 1:14 left. They just burned all their time out, so it's going to be the ultimate hurry-up situation.
Again, going into the wind, stiff wind. Erickson back to return, and Sam Foltz, who was the Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week last week, trying to avoid that breeze. Wisconsin setting up for a return. Foltz keeping it low. A very good kick to the sideline. Grabbed at the 28 by Erickson. And he is stopped after a very short return to forward progress to the 32-yard line. 1:03 to play. No timeouts on either side. Wisconsin now in the hands of Joel Stabby, the 4th winningest active quarterback in college football, with a chance to get Wisconsin the lead. Whether they get him a touchdown or into field goal range, it's up to Stabby now.
Stabby had like Fumagale, the tight end, a big target. 2 for his last 9. He hasn't exactly been hot, but Erickson also usually from that slot position, but this is a Nebraska secondary that has something to prove.
63 seconds left. Stabby from the 30-yard line. 4-man rush. Out route and a good hands catch lunging forward, but the clock continues to move as Troy Fumagalli makes the grab.
Tremendous throw and catch to the sideline, but it was a good tackle to keep Fumagalli in bounds.
45 seconds left. Another 4-man rush. Inside, it's a first down. Catch made by Jazz Peavy out near midfield. Clock will stop to reset the chains at 38 seconds to play.
Erickson right here.
The top receiver in the pattern. 4-man rush again. Stabby over the middle. It's caught by Fumagalli. Inside the 30-yard line. Down to the 28. 25 plays of his career. Takes him into field goal range for Gaglianone. Now you have to manage the clock as well. 20 seconds left. Stavi. Over the middle again, and it's broken up incomplete. Looking for Wheelwright. Nate Gary in on the coverage. It stops at 15 seconds. Second down and 10. Maybe only one more play, two more plays quickly before you have to set up a field goal, and you have to make sure the clock is stopped.
Exactly. That's what you have to set up for. I think a play over the middle is incredibly dangerous. Outside if you can get it, but Gaglianone may have to kick it from right here.
Stavi rolling. Throwing towards the sideline, incomplete. 9 seconds left. You have time for one more. You got to go for the field goal now.
You have time for one more to the sideline. Just like that, you may just flip the formation and run the same thing.
Oh, and Dan Volz, the center, is down on the field.
This is not a 10-second runoff situation due to the incomplete pass.
Again, if the clock had been moving, say a run play and the clock is moving and then Volz goes down, then it's a 10-second runoff inside of a minute. But because it was an incomplete pass, which stopped the clock anyway, it's an official's timeout to make sure Volz is okay. Now, with 9 seconds left, you see Gaglianone potentially getting ready for what could be about a 45 or 46-yard game-winning field goal for the Badgers.
And Fultz, remember, is the center down right now. So regardless of what play you want to run, it isn't going to be with your starting center that has to, whoever comes in has to make a shotgun snap. So that isn't straightforward either.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe that plays a role into not running another play. You go straight for the field goal.
That's a good point.
And you bring in the regular field goal snapper in Connor Udelhoven. Again, for those of you who are just joining us, this has been the season for Nebraska. Both teams with Big Ten losses last week, but some heartbreakers for the Cornhuskers. BYU on the final play of the game, winning on a Hail Mary. The comeback against Miami, but an Armstrong pick in the field goal. And then last week, some mismanagement of the clock. Tommy Armstrong could not convert on third down. Illinois comes down and scores with 10 seconds to play. And now trying to avoid another heartbreaker in Wisconsin with a chance to win it on a 46-yard go-ahead field goal try by Nebraska from Rafael Gaglianone. He just missed a moment ago. 46-yarder into the wind, and he got it through the uprights. Rafael Gaglianone puts Wisconsin in front with 4 seconds to go. For the Huskers. And an incredible drive by Joel Stavi and the Badgers to take the lead in the final moments.
Gaglianone just drives this one through, just sneaks in the right upright. Remember, it was the right hash that he missed the time before, and it was on the right hash once again. I don't know how many times your heart can be broken, but Nebraska's experiencing it again, and it's the opposite on the Wisconsin sideline.
What a moment for Gaglianone, and how many times have Husker fans seen this?
That relief we talked about, Adam?
A moment ago?
A moment ago, that's agony right there.
Yep.
That's what heartbreak looks like.
Jordan Stevenson, the former Badger signee who never enrolled at Wisconsin, is back. They're going to go with the squib kick here. And it's on the ground, and the time may run out. It's kicked back behind the 30, and the clock is going to run out in this game. And the Badgers, with an incredible come-from-behind victory, a much-needed Big Ten win, and it's heartbreak for the Huskers here in Lincoln again. The final score. Paul against his Riley. What an incredible end to this game. Back and forth. The two good friends, Mike Riley, Paul Christ, all the coaching crossover. So much emotion in this game. And a crucial early season Big Ten West game as well. Wisconsin has the win. Nebraska falls to 0-2, and Olivia Harlan is down to the field with Paul Christ.
Coach, it all fell on the shoulders of Rafael Gaglianone. Gosh, so excited, can't even speak. What did you say to him after he missed the field goal right before?
Nothing. You know, I said something to him after the first one, and that's this game. You got to keep playing. Two teams just kept playing, and we were able to make the last play, really. But it's neat for a kid to be in that situation and to be able to come through for his teammates. Obviously, a lot of guys made that happen. That was a big stop by the defense. Give credit to the offense for giving us a chance to get another chance, you know. So that's why this is a great game. You just got to keep playing it. And today, you know, we were able to come out on the winning side of it.
One he'll always remember, I'm sure. You got this win without most of your starting offense. How'd they get it done?
I don't know. We had our quarterback, Alex Erickson, was pretty big. I thought Rob Wheelwright made some plays. You know, there's some guys that are getting an opportunity to play, and it's their moment to step up, and they have done that, and we were far from clean. But a lot of guys put it out here, and you appreciate that, and it was obviously a good win for us.
Your quarterback, Joel Stave, finished what he started 2 years ago here as a redshirt freshman. What did he do better today?
Wasn't here before that. I thought he gave us a chance, and I thought he played with tremendous poise and competitiveness at the end. And that's all this is. You know, you talk about giving yourself a chance to have a chance at the end, and I think enough guys did that, and that's what you're proud of.
And Coach, you didn't speak to your good friend Mike Riley all week. What did you say to him right there, shaking hands?
Said I'll give you a call.
It'll be a call you'll look forward to, Coach. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
An incredible back and forth ball game, an incredible emotional game as well. Back and forth between two good friends, Mike Riley and Paul Christ, and a big win for the Badgers.
Yeah, and only one of the best friends could win, right? And it was Chris this particular time. Nebraska's still looking for that concrete evidence, but I think there's some good things happening. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, the way they play defense, the way Stave's learning how to play the game, their run game will get going. They're going to be in the middle of this Big Ten West.
Rafael Gaglianone and the Badgers win the Freedom Trophy, the second time they battle for this one. And a comeback victory for the Badgers, 23-21, the final score. For Kelly Stauffer, Olivia Harlan, our fantastic crew here in Lincoln, Adam Amin sings So Long from Memorial Stadium. Later on tonight on ABC, Miami at number 12, unbeaten Florida State. An incredible game and a Big Ten win for the Badgers, who avoid the 0-2 start. Huskers are 2-4 for the first time since 1959.